Leads the Lions back into Calgary, McMahon Stadium for the rematch today. Calgary with the best home record in the CFL. And the BC Lions with the best road record. Temperature 6 degrees, cloudy and damp. And we may get some precipitation for this game. Wally Buono celebrated his 200th victory last week and nailed down first place for the Lions, third straight time. Tom Higgins said, "We learned a valuable lesson last week," and he's anxious to see a response today. Underway with the rematch. And it's Joffrey Reynolds up across the 35-yard line and still going. Good return to set things up for the Stampeders at their own 45-yard line. Henry Burris leads the offense out as we meet the starting quarterbacks. Brought to you by Wendy's.
Well, Henry Burris has to find a way to beat the BC Lions. Close to 4,000 yards passing on the season, 20 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. How about Buck Pierce? He gets his 5th start of the 2006 CFL season, and he has been dynamite.
Burris will flare it out, and there is Nick Lewis with a catch. Lewis with 2 catches, 9 yards last week. Silenced by G. Roy Simon and the Lions defense, but making some noise on the first play of the game.
The offense for the Calgary Stampeders will be led and has been led all season behind Henry Burris by Joffrey Reynolds, who is going to try and catch Charles Roberts here this afternoon. There's the receiving core. Nick Lewis getting involved early. Lewis and Copeland not real productive last week versus the Lions. Jeff Pilon in the lineup in the O-line.
And Joffrey Reynolds tries the heart of that defensive line that is so tough to run against. Just 2 there. 14 for Nick Lewis, and will set the Lions impressive and seemingly getting better by the week defense.
Brent Johnson leads the way, 15 sacks on the season for him. This is the number 2 team in the league coming into this week against the run, giving up just 91.7 yards per game, largely due to the play of Javier Glatt and Otis Floyd in the linebacking core, and a secondary that has only made 1 change all season long. That's LeVar Glover, a long way back.
Starting lineups brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. 2nd and 8. Here comes the rush. Burris getting it away, and no receiver in the neighborhood as Chris Wilson turns up the heat on Henry Burris, who had so much pressure from that BC front last Friday.
Well, going into last week, it was all the talk between Nick Lewis and Jermaine Copeland and how they called out G. Roy Simon. Did not have a good game. Boy, what a difference a week makes. Jermaine Copeland in the paper today said, even if we lose but play with 100% effort, we will feel a lot better, and we'd be taking a step in the right direction. That is a little more humble than we heard a week ago.
Yes.
And what a difference a week makes for the guys who did all the talking last week and did not back it up on the field.
Tom Higgins added, it's been a quiet week. He liked that.
He liked a quiet week.
Burke Dale's coming off his worst game of the year with the kick. And a return by Ian Smart, who has dropped to the 15. Randy Chevrier, the long snapper, first man down, 39 yards on the punt, and 4 for the return. And Buck Pierce will lead the Lions offense out, and for Pierce's 5th start of the year, he's 4-0. He's 4-0.
Yeah, 4-0 for Buck Pierce, doing everything the team asks, whether it's coming off the bench or starting for the BC Lions. Dave Dickinson still sidelined in the fact back home. There's G. Roy Simon in that receiving core, leading the way with all receivers. Bobby Singh back in the lineup at guard. Haji Razuli moves over to the tackle for Rob Murphy, who's hurt.
Murphy undergoing arthroscopic wrist surgery yesterday, should start practicing again Wednesday. Joe Smith out of the backfield, and a big opening play for the BC Lions, who had a first possession touchdown last week against the Stamps.
This football team, led by whether it's Buck Pierce coming off the bench or Buck Pierce starting the game, has been dynamite in his first drives. A nice screenplay to start things out as they dump it off to big Joe Smith, who had his debut here in Calgary, over 100 yards rushing in his first game as a first start as a Lion.
22 for number 33, and a first down at the 38-yard line. Joe Smith with the counter to the 42, has 4.
You know, talk about Buck Pierce and how he has come in and quickly taken control of football games. Look at these last 4 games. When he went in the game in Montreal, he went 7 of 8 in his first series. Against Saskatchewan, he came in late, went 6 of 9, tied the game up, and pushed it to overtime. Hamilton, 8 of 12 in Calgary. Last week, he went 5 for 5, 87 yards, 9 plays, and a touchdown in his first drive.
2nd and 6. And Pierce has that tipped. And it's caught. Kendrick Jones. And down the sidelines. 1 man to beat. And he's brought down at the 26. Well, good to be lucky and lucky to be good.
He gets a little luck here, Buck Pierce, because it comes off the hand of the defender and goes up in the air. And Kendrick Jones somehow runs into it. We're gonna see more of Kendrick Jones. Look at that thing. That's a free ball, and Kendrick Jones with the one hand, and then gets the corner on a block from Ryan Thelwell right there on Tony Tiller. We'll see more of Kendrick Jones. Paris Jackson a little banged up in this game. And that's tremendous concentration from Jones.
Turns out to be a 42-yard play. Play action. Pierce has time. Out of the backfield, Joe Smith. And Smith brought down by Khalid Abdullah at the 16-yard line, close to another first down. Will set that Calgary defense that's undergoing a makeover after last week.
Well, Sheldon Nepestek is out, so Demetrius Maxey moves inside, and Karan Williams starts his first game, along with Shannon James in the linebacking core. Scott Coe moves inside, and it looks to me like the Calgary Stampeders still wondering if they have a good enough defense. I mean, they are making all kinds of changes in the defensive linebacking core and the secondary to try and find the right mix. And if there's a question mark in Calgary right now, it may be, do they have a good enough defense?
Everybody thought this was the best core of linebackers in the league, and for 3 years it was the Fab Four with George White,
now
John
a BC
Griggs
Lion, yeah,
on the bench, Brian Clark, and Scott Coe plays a different spot inside today. So Denny Crean has to revamp things, and the BC Lions have lent his defense up. 5 straight wins, and in the last 4 they've averaged over 40 points a game.
Well, it's a pride game for the defense and the entire Calgary Stampeders.
2nd and short, and the Lions will sneak for the first down.
1st and 10 at the Calgary 15.
That's been the talk all week long. This football team, the Stampeders, have got to figure out a way to beat Wally Guano and Wally Guano's BC Lions. You mentioned 5 straight for Wally Guano against Calgary, and it's 8 of the last 9 games the Lions have beat the Calgary Stampeders. They feel like they're going to meet in the playoffs, and that's what they're saying. I'm not throwing out the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but got to find a way to beat them.
1st and 10. Joe Smith off the right side, big hole, cut back to the 2, and a touchdown saving tackle by the safety Wes Lysak.
Taken down by Wes Lysak, number 31 for Calgary.
The BC Lions widen the formation by putting Lyle Green up at the tight end position, and then just basically slide the entire offensive line to the right side, and then it's up to Big Joe Smith to just find the cutback lane. And again, well-scripted first series from Jacques Chapdelaine, the offensive coordinator, to get Buck Pierce right down on the doorstep.
1st and goal from the 2, trying to cap a 94-yard opening possession drive, and Joe Smith to the goal line, and no signal. Looks like it'll be 2nd down, but last week it was an 82-yard drive to set an early tone, and Wally Guano wanted his team to play with purpose. They have 3 games left, and they've already clinched, but he doesn't want to lose any momentum at this point.
No, and so how do you do it? Like, that's the question, and I'm sure a lot of Calgary fans are wondering, how would they do it? When you get the ball, how do you get it? It's focus, it's game planning, it's coming out prepared to play, watching all the game film and being ready in the opening series.
2nd and goal from the 1. Pierce himself. It's a touchdown, BC. And once again, Buck Pierce comes out red hot.
got a little lucky on one play in the drive, but you're absolutely right. Great play calling, a good mix of Joe Smith. The early screen pass established things for the BC Lions in this series. And once again, like he's done all season long, in the first series of the game for Buck Pierce, he moves the ball from wherever they give it to him to begin the drive to the end zone for the opponent.
Drive starting on the 16-yard line. Pierce 3 for 3, 74 yards. And the extra point is good. BC on the board first once again here in Calgary. Buck Pierce, a 94-yard touchdown drive, 8 plays. Joe Smith had 50 yards of offense as the BC Lions open it up 7-0.
And he starts 3 for 3, 74 yards and a touchdown in the opening series. 100% completion percentage for Buck Pierce in series number 1.
Callum kicks it, and J.R. Ruffin had a good return game last week and nearly escaped there up to the 50, 24 yards. Henry Burris leads the offense back, coming off what he called his most embarrassing game as a pro.
The most frustrating game I've ever been a part of. I mean, I haven't been involved in a game to where we allowed a team to come out and dominate us like that. I mean, again, at Temple, I was only a part of 5 wins, but, it was at least competitive, most of the time. But, just for a team to say they're going to beat you and actually go out there and do it, I had never been a part of that.
4 straight losses for Burris head-to-head against BC. And puts this over the middle, and it's picked off.
Oh, baby. The Birds will be out. The Boo Birds will be out early, Chris.
Yep. There were 4 interceptions last week. Banks had 1, and he gets an early one here against Henry Burris.
His 6th of the season, and Burris just fading back. Really has no business throwing this one over the middle. He can't step up strong and throw a strike. Watch how he keeps losing ground because of the pressure from the front 4. He's off balance, throwing into the flow of traffic, and Corey Banks, against this defense, that'll cost you every time. Henry Burris, you mentioned, has not beat the BC Lions as a starting quarterback for the Calgary Stampeders. In week 6, it was the first time in his pro career he was ever pulled from a game against the BC Lions when Calgary lost.
And pulled last week. Here's Buck Pierce, a crosser, and G-Roy Simon has another catch. As Simon has 9 on the play, his 93rd reception of the year, and there were the numbers last week for Burris, lowest of the season. And another interception here. Danny McManus, by the way, threw the 4th interception last week for Calgary.
All right, BC, we're in the building. It's real this year. New attitude.
The last 2 games that Henry Burris has played against the Lions, he's averaged 162 yards passing, has thrown 4 interceptions, and not 1 touchdown pass. Henry Burris has to figure out a way to beat this BC Lion defense. Maybe easier said than done.
Darius Jackson sneaking ahead on 2nd and 1 to give Buck Pierce a fresh set of downs to work with. So G-Roy Simon was such a big part of last week because he was the focal point of the criticism from the Calgary slot backs, and all he did was answer with 8 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. And he started the day 76 yards away from tying his own Lions record. And that 2,000-yard season, and even Alan Pitt's record, the 2,036 receiving yards in a season, still very much in reach for G-Roy. Here's the toss, and Ian Smart gets a chance in the backfield, and brought down by the newcomer Shannon James.
He has been unbelievable for the Lions, and I know when you look at the overalls, he holds the Lions record right now, and he will break that record maybe tonight, but for sure this season, and he's on pace to be close to the record set by Alan Pitts. He still needs about 121 yards a game to get the CFL record, but that's possible with this guy.
2nd down, and a catch for Simon, who is hit by Kobe Reinhart and will be brought down short of the 1st down.
You have to give him so much respect as a defensive back. He has deceptive speed. He never looks like he's really going full speed until he goes right by you. And that's why you're going to see him be able to catch these crossers and out passes a bunch, because of the respect that the defensive backfield has to give G-Roy Simon. He'll take one of those little crossers or one of those little out routes, and he'll take it the distance in a hurry.
I don't think it's any question now that your guy's going to be the outstanding player of the year. The only question now is, will he be unanimous? I mean, who else?
I mean, Joffrey Reynolds took a run, but he's been sort of off his pace the last few games, and one of the reasons is that one of those games was against the Lion defense, but I thought Joffrey Reynolds was really the only player to give G-Roy Simon a run this year, and even if he doesn't play much down the stretch here, Simon, because they're resting him, he's the outstanding player.
How about the English on that? Paul McCallum brought out the wedge, and he stopped it up on the 2. A perfect 48-yard punt.
Stampeder connection of quarterback Doug Flutie and receiver Alan Pitts rewrote CFL record books. Flutie passed for over 5,000 yards, and Pitts amassed more than 100 receptions in each of their 4 seasons together. In '93, this Hall of Fame connection helped bring the Grey Cup back to Calgary for the first time since 1971. Who is the greatest quarterback receiver connection in CFL history? Log on to cfl.ca/makingtheconnection for more details.
Well, Jermaine Copeland didn't have much to say this week, but we've got Jermaine Franklin on the sidelines. Jermaine?
Thanks, Chris. Last week, Joffrey Reynolds had just 10 carries for under 50 yards against BC, and that's kind of been the norm for this running back against this defense. Career-wise, 6 games, he only averaged 11.5 per, and he's not the only one who's been stymied by this BC defense. Henry Burris, what many consider to be the most dangerous rushing quarterback, has just 2 carries for 8 yards in his 2 games against BC. Now, Reynolds not happy with his performance last week, said he was right in Coach Barato's ear, saying he wants to be involved getting the ball, catching or running.
See if this is a running play in the double tight end offense, and it is Joffrey Reynolds trying to establish something on the ground up to the 11-yard line. 5 for Reynolds, who started the day leading the rushing derby by 70 over Charles Roberts, but Roberts put 102 up in Hamilton against the Tiger Cats in the first half of our doubleheader.
So Joffrey Reynolds has tonight to try and catch back up and retake the lead. There's the leaders as of right now. Charles Roberts getting a lot of yards near the end of that game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And now, I agree with Joffrey Reynolds. Get him the ball.
2nd and 5, pressure, and Burris unable to get the ball to Marcus Howell, and once again that pressure is really disrupting Henry Burris and the Stamps offense.
Well, the tough part for the Calgary offense and for Steve Barato, the offensive coordinators, how do you defend against a team that always just basically rushes with 4 or maximum 5? They come with 5 off the edge. That's Markeith Knowlton coming out of the defensive secondary. But primarily this football team, the Lions, will rush with just 4. They have the best front 4 as a group in the league. And how do you defend against that is Steve Barato's challenge.
Ian Smart taking the ball on the Calgary side of half, and he'll be brought down at the Stampeder 45. Great field position for the Lions when we come back. Next week, need a win here today or next week to officially nail down home field. 2nd place in the West. Joe Smith with the run off the right side, and BC set up well as Tom Higgins does not opt for the safety.
Yeah, interesting decision there from Tom Higgins. And, you know, it's almost been automatic for coaches this year to give up a safety if their punter is kicking from the goal line or anywhere near there because of the field position that exchanges in if you try and kick it. And right now the BC Lions are in field goal range after 1 play. So you give them 2 and get the field position, or the possibility for 3 automatic.
6-yard gain for Joe Smith. 2nd and 4. Like a little mix-up, but nothing wrong with the end result. The Smith is down to the 31 and a first down.
Well, again, the question mark with the Calgary defense reigns large here for the Calgary fans, because on 2nd and 4, to be able to hand the football off, for the Lions, it's tremendous confidence in their O-line and running game and in Joe Smith. But for Denny Crean, that's concern. That's reason for concern on a defense to not be able to hold the Lions on 2nd and 4 when they run the football.
Well, that was his coming out party. In the 5th game of the year. And here's Ryan Thelwell, who had some clutch catches last week, 6 against the Stamps.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra, GMC Professional Grade, and by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet.
You talked about how quick a starter he has been, and look at the numbers again today.
Amazing.
Did have the fortuitous tip into the hands of Kendrick Jones for 42 yards, but nothing but perfect so far.
Hottest quarterback in the league right now.
2nd and 7, little pressure, but he steps out, looks into the end zone. Claremont can't reach it, flag down. Penalty marker down, and was Claremont held up in the route?
Yeah, right around the goalpost area. It looked to me like I thought it was Krantz Clements, number 26 for the Calgary Stampeders, that just put his left arm around the waist. Here's Clements. He's in the deep zone. He holds him up there and then grabs him again, pulls the jersey with the left hand. Pass interference, or at the very least, illegal contact. Now, Clemens can plead his case, but the eye in the sky doesn't lie.
Talked to Jason Claremont yesterday. Remember last year when Buck Pierce came off the bench in Saskatchewan, 4th quarter, wins the game, and there was the joke, all you need is $1.25 for the Lions to win. Well, he was joking about that again in Saskatchewan when he came in the 4th quarter, almost pulled it out. Now they're calling Buck Pierce Tooney because you give Buck in 4 quarters and you'll get a win in BC now. Leroy Simon coming around. And that's well defended as Jermaine Chapman wouldn't let him turn it downfield.
Brought down by Jermaine Chapman, number 41.
Well, when they get down in this area of the football field, they look for 81, and why wouldn't you? 14 touchdowns for Leroy Simon. There's the rest of the pack. Brent Johnson defensively in that group, which is a name you may not normally see for a defensive lineman, but he has a couple.
Yeah, Tyrone Williams is one of those 7 players with 1. So anything's possible down in this range. 2nd and 9 from the 17 in the final minute, 1st quarter.
Here they come.
And Pierce overthrowing.
Incomplete in the end zone.
Yeah, you know,
Leroy Simon, that's his first incompletion of the game.
I thought Leroy Simon looked right and kind of pointed to himself right after that throw. It looked like he bent it in, and Buck Pierce thought he was going to go straight down the seam. He's taking a look at the blitz. He sees it. See, he recognizes blitz there, and he wants to break it off and present a target early, and that ball thrown way over his head, and he looked right around and said, that's the spot. Either I'm going to come right in here and get inside position, go straight down the field. Quarterback thought one. He thought he was zigging, and Simon zagged.
Paul McCallum has missed 2 of his last 3. He's got this drive from 24 yards out and puts it through. And the Lions add to their lead on the final play of the opening quarter at McMahon Stadium. BC up by 10.
Yeah, Boston Pizza CFL poll question for this afternoon. Log on to tsn.ca and tell us which player is most valuable to his team. Those are the options.
First quarter stats here in Calgary, brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL.
Well, keep it simple. Left column good, right column not so good. And basically that's, yeah, I mean, you look all the way down, that's dominance in the first quarter by Buck Pierce.
And that is not the response that Tom Higgins was hoping for from his Stampeders, who can't solve this BC Lion defense.
Well, you know, it falls on the shoulders of Steve Bratto, the offensive coordinator, number 1. How do you figure out this great dominant front 4 for the BC Lions? That's number 1. Get Joffrey Reynolds involved again, but Henry Burris has to try and exercise these demons. He just struggles against this football team.
J.R. Ruffin with the kick return after the McCallum field goal. And Ruffin, who had a good game last week with 6 kickoff returns for 189 yards, trying to set the table for Henry Burris.
It all starts with Brent Johnson in that front four, and Steve Barato's challenge is, what do you do? One thing you can do here is have your running back in Joffrey Reynolds go up and chip and actually double team. That helps on Brent Johnson, but what it does is it leads the rest of that defensive line that has played well in one-on-ones, and if they slip through, then they have no help. Henry Burris is on his own back there. That's one way to try and help on Brent Johnson.
Play action, the fake to Reynolds, and Burris finds Nick Lewis. Second catch at the 50. That's a first down for Calgary.
Now, the other way that Steve Barato can do it is something he's done already in this game, and go with tight ends. Now, what that does is it gets a big man out here to help on Brent Johnson in the double team, and it frees up your running back. If the Lions move Brent Johnson outside to keep him the end man on the line of scrimmage, he's further away from Henry Burris. That is the other way to try and stop a dominant defensive line, and it may open up running lanes if you widen your defensive end.
Here's Reynolds trying the right side across midfield to the BC 52-yard line. And it's a gain of 7 for Joffrey Reynolds.
So for Steve Barato, those are two real basic ways. The chipping with the running back is what it's called, where the running back is asked to go up and help on a dominant rush end. Takes the running back out of the game plan a little bit. Steve Barato does not want to do that with Joffrey Reynolds. He'd rather have him in the pass routes or running the football himself. So we likely will see more of that tight end as this game goes on from Steve Barato.
2nd and 3. Reynolds straight ahead, first down. So the running game starting to get established here as Reynolds moves the chains.
Well, you heard Jermaine Franklin down on the sideline talk about Joffrey Reynolds and how ineffective he has been against the Lions. Maybe the tight end formation helps, but 11.5 carries per game against this team in the 6 games. That shows you that the Lions just talked Steve Barato out of running Joffrey Reynolds.
4 carries, 19 yards so far this afternoon for Joffrey Reynolds. Steve Barato's offense is the #1 ranked in terms of yards and rushing yards.
Yeah, that's what's strange about it.
But they are working against a defense that's...
Calgary 66, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Alex Gauthier, the left tackle, moving, but they are running against the defense, #1 in yards against and #2 against the rush.
Yeah, and it's all in the front four. Starts with Brent Johnson, but don't take anything away from Tyrone Williams, Aaron Hunt, or Chris Wilson.
First down over and 15. And they screen it, Reynolds. Joffrey Reynolds down near the 40-yard line and close to a first down. 13 for Reynolds out of the backfield.
So Dave Ritchie's defense playing as good as probably any defense that Dave Ritchie has coached in his long and great career in the Canadian Football League. First in all of those categories, including a tie with Toronto in interceptions and leading the way in sacks. Those are the big play stats in the defense, sacks and interceptions, but yards allowed and points allowed are the most important, and they're leading the way in all those categories.
I'm sure that's their defense because they've scored 9 different guys have scored touchdowns. It's an offensive defense.
Here's that tight end formation.
2nd and 2. Reynolds, nice little sidestep there, and down to the 38, and he'll be close to the first down. Brought to the turf there by Mark Washington.
See, this is that tight end offense I was talking about with the Calgary Stampeders, and you won't see Brent Johnson. He's just outside here because they have widened him, and guess where Joffrey Reynolds is going to end up running? He's going to run in that lane. So when you put the tight ends out there, now Joffrey Reynolds, see there's a little bit of a lane? That's because Brent Johnson, to remain the end man on the line of scrimmage, has got to widen by 1 or 2 yards to the outside. And again, that tight end is a way to try and minimize, I guess you can, the defensive line, if that's a word. Is that a word?
Minimize.
Minimize is
we'll go with that.
Yeah, I put an extra vowel or something in there. But that's basically how you do it for Brent Johnson, to widen him out of there and try and keep him away from the backfield if possible.
It's 3rd and
Well, Johnson and the defense will hunker down now. As you see, Calgary short, so it's 3rd, less than a yard. Burris will plunge in behind Taylor Roberts in the right guard, who has graded out best amongst the Calgary offensive linemen this year. It should have the first.
You know, one guy that'll help him up there is the return of Jeff Pilon. Jeff Pilon missed 5 games with a knee injury, and then 1 game because his wife Kelly was giving birth to their son Jake. And he's a big man. Jake was born 34 pounds, 6 ounces.
Offside.
Okay, that's an
36.
exaggeration.
Geez, you gotta be worried there.
First
Okay,
down.
that's a bit of an exaggeration.
We're
But
really worried for Kelly.
yeah, you think an offensive lineman that may be the size of the baby. No, I think he was 6'14". Everyone's healthy, and congratulations to Jeff
Yes.
Pilon. But he brings some aggressive intensity. I mean, he's a guy on that tackle spot that can go and get after it, and they need him in the line.
I think Jake Pilon sounds like a future offensive lineman. That's a good handle. Here's the reverse. Kenyon Rambo with Henry Burris leading the blocking. And the 7th play of this drive takes it down to the 22.
Tight end formation for the Calgary Stampeders is going to open up running lanes, and this time they're going to use the outside running lane. And they fake to Joffrey Reynolds, give it to him. He comes back around the other side. Reynolds is the decoy. And now with that tight end formation, Calgary has something going. This is how you try and slow down a dominant front 4. Little block there by Henry. Well, he just got in the way of Otis Floyd. Not really a block.
11 for Kenyon Rambo. We're seeing more of a variety of these Calgary formations, but we're also seeing pressure, and down goes Burris. Otis Floyd with the sack, his 7th of the year, and the leading total of 52 sacks for the BC Lions.
And what a second half of the season for Otis Floyd, coming in his last 8 games, 31 tackles, 6 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. He has been on fire in the second half of the season. Great backside concentration. In other words, he didn't commit and go out of his rushing lane. So when Burris ends up going back to his right, he runs right into the arms of Otis Floyd.
Floyd, the top defensive player last year for the Lions and for the month of September in the CFL this year. 2nd and 17. The draw! Wide open. Reynolds breaks a tackle and has a first down inside the 10. And he moved the sticks because he broke that last tackle.
And the defensive line for the BC Lions were in that wide stance. They got widened out, and they didn't have the tight end formation. Look how wide the gaps are here between defensive linemen. The gaps are huge. They basically lined up like it was a tight end, even though it wasn't, and that opens up running lanes for the Calgary Stampeders. So a formation has a ripple effect against the Lion defense.
Ran through Corey Banks to get 19 on a 2nd and 17. Now they bunch formation to the right side. Reynolds straight ahead. Joffrey Reynolds, touchdown. That's the old Stamps offense.
Well, there you go, and this is a brand new formation from Steve Barato. And hey, let's not just bring in tight end, let's bring them all in. Let's just see how many in the formation are in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Look at that. 9 right in the box. Joffrey Reynolds hits the gap and has a gaping hole, and away he goes untouched.
Jill Leslie, the fullback, with a big block to make sure the running lane was wide open. A 10-play, 72-yard drive. Stampeders on the board midway through the 2nd quarter. 10-yard run, 10-play drive. Calgary on the board, 10-7 BC as Ian Smart with a big return to midfield. 33 on the kick return. Back with the Lions offensively after this. BC Lions will take over at their 54 after the good return by Ian Smart. Last possession, a field goal. And that's the first time in the last 12 visits to the red zone or inside the 20 where the Lions haven't scored a touchdown. They had scored 11 straight touchdowns inside the 20, and it doesn't get much more efficient than that.
No, and I consider in the red zone success as touchdowns, because as a former defensive player,
Timeout, BC.
as a former defensive player, if the offense gets into the red zone inside the 20 on you, and you hold the team to a field goal, you think that is a momentum changer, that you've had a victory there as a defensive player. So to have that kind of success when the Lions get down in there, to be 100% in the red zone with Majors until that last field goal is unheard of.
Oh, not sure what happened there. The
First down.
Lions took a timeout. Somebody on the Calgary side had too much to say, I believe, and a bench penalty against Calgary is going to cost them 15 yards.
Wow, and see, this is, there's no way to sugarcoat this. This is the worst type of penalty when your offense just got some momentum. To get a bench penalty is brutal.
Correction, a 10-yard penalty. Nevertheless, the ball into the Stamps end of the field, 46-yard line, quarterback draw, flag down as Pierce lunges to the 37.
Running the football, there is a flag though.
Well, let's sort out what happened on the sidelines and rejoin Jermaine Franklin.
Casey Crehan, guys, was screaming at the referee, the side judge, because he thought that BC should have got a procedure penalty, just like Gauthier got in the previous drive for the Stamps offense.
When you add up, though, the trash talking that cost them a week ago, some of the penalties they have taken this season, including that last one, is there a discipline problem on this football team?
Well, again, it seemed to be addressed this week. They said, quiet week, players meeting, nothing came out of the Stampeders dressing room that you could put on a bulletin board, but that was a costly 10, but instead BC takes a holding penalty and they push it back 10. Jason Claremont with the catch on 1st and 20.
Well, you know, we should see some inspired play from the defense at the very least for the Calgary Stampeders after the touchdown from Calgary, because then you come out defensively thinking that you can believe again. But are we getting that performance from the Calgary, and especially their linebacking core? Chris, you alluded to it early. This linebacking core has been completely changed, and they're experimenting all the way up to this point in the year.
14 for Claremont, so it's 2nd and 6. Tony Tiller, an extra DP, is in. Pierce had lots of time, and the pass incomplete. J.R. Ruffin in coverage.
Well, the one time that Buck Pierce got one-on-one coverage, had Geroy Simon open on the play and went in opposite direction. Pascal Masson is going to be matched up on Simon. Simon wanted the ball, just throw it up, I'll go get it. And Buck Pierce didn't see him.
Yeah, they'll take that matchup, the Lions, all day long if they can get it.
And maybe Geroy Simon, who normally will not say much to the quarterback, maybe he goes and whispers to Buck, hey, man-to-man, I'm not a bad option.
Well, Paul McCallum comes on to attempt his longest field goal of the year. This from 49 yards out. And McCallum will miss it. And we'll get a return out from J.R. Ruffin. And a flag down as Ruffin changes direction and could run for a while. And gets caught from behind. Brent Johnson, how about that? Defensive end can fly, but this one was coming back on a penalty to Calgary anyway. An illegal block on that return of the missed field goal as the Stamps stuck at their own 2-yard line. They fake the drop and look for Thurman, and Elijah Thurman can't hold on. Looked like he stepped in front of Dante Marsh and had a catch, but dropped the ball.
Dante Marsh in good position. This is the planned throw behind to Elijah Thurman, not trying to go up over top, but throw it to his back hip and hope that Elijah Thurman can throw the brakes on and come back to the football, but Dante Marsh wouldn't quit and ripped it out of his hands. And you see that Steve Barato is committing more to the run in this game, almost halfway to their last 2-game total, 61 yards.
Yeah, averaging 63.5 in the first 2 games, and at 61 so far, with Reynolds at 50 yards rushing in this first half. 2nd and 10, Burris running out of the end zone, and diving for that first down stick. Let's see where they give him. I don't think
They moved it back quite a
they
bit.
gave him a great spot.
Yeah, it was not a Calgary spot, that's for sure.
He may have stepped out before that arm went out to try and get to the first down stick, and Henry's going to appeal where that ball was marked.
And you can't challenge that because it was second down. So Tom Higgins won't be able to do that. Good protection. Lions dropping everyone in coverage, so Henry Burris really didn't have. The question was the foot on the white stripe? And they are going to give it to him after all.
Give him a first down. In the first 2 meetings of the year, Henry Burris, 1 carry for 3 yards in one game, 1 carry for 5 yards in the other. This is a guy who is ranked 8th in the league in rushing. That's his first run of the day against the Lions. So he has been dangerous as a runner out of the backfield against most teams, but not against BC. But that was a big first down. Gives him a little breathing room and gives Joffrey Reynolds a chance to run the football. And Reynolds to the 15 has a couple.
We talked about Steve Barrato committing more to the run. This was the last drive where he got Joffrey Reynolds involved early in the drive, then went and used Joffrey Reynolds as the decoy on the reverse to Kenyon Rambo, and then went back to Reynolds to finish the drive on the draw play up the middle. So the commitment obviously there to 21 from the Calgary coaching staff, and you're right about that big first down. 8 for 52 yards for Joffrey Reynolds so far.
Well, the goal is at least 1 first down when you're backed up like Calgary was. A second first down would be a bonus. Burris scrambling, Aaron Hunt closing quickly, and Burris unable to hook up with Jermaine Copeland. And that's that speedy Aaron Hunt who has been so effective in recent games, chasing down Henry Burris.
Yeah, and 2 things here. One, Henry Burris now becoming more active with his legs, almost out of necessity, as he gets chased down by Aaron Hunt, number 90 here. But Jermaine Copeland has to slide with Henry Burris. Copeland put the brakes on and didn't keep moving to that direction, and Burris had a real difficult throw to go across his body, or he would have had another first down there.
Birkdale's had averaged 45.9 yards a game last week, only 40. And not a terrific kick there. No yards after a 33-yard punt by Dales. No yards against Wes Cates. 33-yard punt. The penalty, and the Lions start at the Calgary 43-yard line. And they swing it to G. Simon. Claremont with a block, and Simon close to a first down. Be sure to check out the new TSN Interactive, brought to you by Molson Canadian. You can play along with today's game, chat with other viewers, play games, and answer skill testing trivia. Just go to tsn.ca
Who
to
knows,
play.
if you go on there and you chat, you may even chat with a guy like Charles Roberts.
Yeah.
Occasionally he goes on and, you know,
get an update on whether he's coming back next year. Charlie Roberts regained the CFL rushing lead earlier today and then has relinquished it again to Joffrey Reynolds. 2nd and 1 after the 9-yard Simon pickup, and Joe Smith has got that. Remember, 2nd and 1 earlier this year, Joe Smith with a start against Calgary, and he ran 66 yards for a touchdown.
You know, I mentioned the linebacking core who are in charge of containing Joe Smith, and the change is George White, now a BC Lion, actually gets to double dip. He gets a paycheck from both the Calgary Stampeders because he was released after the veteran deadline. John Grace has been relegated to the bench, basically. We'll see spot action. Scott Coe moved from outside linebacker to inside linebacker. Shannon James gets to start a newcomer.
1st and 10, Joe Smith again left side. And down to the 25. George White led the CFL in tackles last year with 116. John Grace was the top defensive player in the league. So it certainly is eyebrow-raising to watch this linebacking core being completely rebuilt.
Yeah, and experimentation going on at this point in the year. And I know the Calgary Stampeder coaching staff continue to sort of sell it like, well, we've got such great young athletes, we want to see them, but at this point of the year to be completely rebuilding your linebacking core, Scott, that's concern.
2nd and 5 in the bunch formation. To the wide side for the Lions. Pierce looks that way. Joe Smith, and he's cut down. And a good tackle there. Made on the play by Tony Tiller and Brian Clark in the neighborhood.
Well, Brian Clark has been the consistent player in that linebacking core, Chris. I mean, he had 50 tackles coming in, 2 interceptions. Involved in that play there. He also has a sack on the year, and he missed some action due to injury this year, and that was a huge loss for the Calgary Stampeders. In fact, Brian Clark, when Joe Smith had that 138-yard rushing game in his first game as a starting running back for the Lions, Clark wasn't in the lineup that night.
So a 32-yard attempt here by McCallum, who has missed 3 of his last 4. Make it 4-5. Wally Bono a little concerned. The Lions have gone so well that McCallum's struggles have been a little under the radar. That will be a concern. It's now 11-7 BC.
Run to Rona for the It Pays to Renovate event. October 11th to 31st only, register your indoor improvement projects and get a Rona gift card worth up to $450. Simply fill out the form available in the flyer or in store and receive your gift card worth up to $450. And check out our financing plans. It Pays to Renovate from October 11th to 31st. For expert advice and more, count on Rona, the how-to people.
Cesarto from Port Robinson, Ontario, will take part in the Wendy's Kick for $1 million contest, or the 50-yard kick would be worth $1 million. At the 35, back to work goes Henry Burris, and he throws a strike to Kenyon Rambo.
Kenyon Rambo, number 85.
BC Lions have made a slight adjustment in trying to counteract the running attack for the Calgary Stampeders. They moved a linebacker up here at the line of scrimmage, moved Brent Johnson back inside. Now when you do that, you open up and void an area in behind. Henry Burris is going to try and throw it now. Now it's a little wider than that middle zone, but the one way to try and counteract a double tight end or a running game is to bring linebackers up on the line, but it does open up that intermediate passing zone behind them.
And now Burris over the middle, and Lewis can't bring it down. In front of Corey Banks. Ian Lewis one he should have had.
And here you go, Javi Glatt, again, so concerned with the run. He's going to be right here. His zone is to drop into that throwing lane, which is going to be created here. But watch how shallow Javi Glatt gets because he's concerned with Joffrey Reynolds in that play-action fake. He's way too shallow. The receiver is open in behind, but the ball thrown a little bit behind, and Nick Lewis can't hang on.
Javi Glatt, a Calgary High School star at St. Francis, and still keeps track of his team, was lamenting. They lost by 1 on Thursday to St. Mary's here in Calgary, but he says they are rebuilding. St. Francis a power here in Calgary. And his brother, a coach, J.P. Esquardo. Here's a catch for the Stampeders and a first down into Lions territory as Burris starting to look more comfortable after a struggling first quarter.
Yeah, Elijah Thurman comes back to the ball nicely, and in this drive, Steve Barato deciding to go with Joffrey Reynolds on first down as play action and have Burris try and throw. He's had open receivers, and that's a good pass to Elijah Thurman.
13 yards to Thurman, who had just 3 catches in the first 2 games against these Lions. First down, and out of the backfield, Rambo took a lick from Glover. There's Javi Glatt, who has been an emotional leader for the Lions and even more emotional about coming back to Calgary to play.
Gain of 7, second down and 3, Calgary.
Watched a lot of games here growing up, and I watched a lot of good football, and I guess it's nice and a little more added incentive when you get your fans and your friends and family in the stands. But maybe sometimes I get a little bit more nervous than I normally would, to be honest with you. But once you get on the field and start hitting it, it's just like any other game, and it's just it's awesome. Calgary's a great football city, and they love the Stampeders here, so it's kind of nice to ruining everyone's day. Hopefully when we get that big W.
Javi out of the defensive set on that passing situation. Marcus Howe with the catch close to the first down, pending the spot. But here was a guy that watched Alondra Johnson through the Stampeders' great 90s, and that was a pretty good guy to learn from.
Well, I think Wally Buono can say experiment successful when it comes to Javi Glatt. And you know, they gave up on Barron, not gave up on him, but they decided that Barron Simpson was at a stage in his career that he could move on, and they cut him loose and thought that Javi Glatt was ready to take the next step. And he has taken it in a big way.
Leading the Lions in tackles with 63, tied for 5th in the CFL.
You know, and Barron Simpson still doing his thing with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Is he ever leading the league?
Yeah, but Wally Buono took a bit of a gamble, not knowing whether or not Javi Glatt would step up, and some people thought he might be a little light in the backside, but he's not. He played great. Mentioned those 63 tackles.
It is a first down, Calgary, and they've got the double reverse, and Rambo dropped it, and look what Brent Johnson found. His 3rd fumble recovery of the year as the Stamps put it on the turf.
This is the downside of reverses, because you're asking a player who doesn't normally hand the football off, a receiver, right here in Nick Lewis, to make a handoff to Kenyon Rambo, and he's only done that maybe once or twice all season long, and maybe 6 or 7 times in practice. He gets the ball up a little bit high, and the fumble is created. Johnson comes up with the fumble recovery, but that's the downside of going with the reverse.
Well, the BC Lions now have taken the ball away on defense 50 times to lead the CFL this season. Fly it down as Pierce finds Claremont at the 50.
You know, this in a big picture sort of way for Wally Buono's BC Lions, there was a lot of ways that this team could have come in and relaxed and just basically said, look, we got first place, all locked up. It's a chilly kind of afternoon here in Calgary. We're playing against a team that needs it way more than we do.
Number 19,
and this football team could have come in here and basically said, you know what, let's mail it in and get back to BC Place and then get into the playoffs. And they played good football. They played consistent football in this first half.
Offside penalty brings it back to the Lions 39. 1st and 15, pressure. And the screen pass incomplete, intended for Joe Smith, as the heat was turned up by Terrence Patrick.
You know, and that's one of the reasons, Chris, I believe that Wally Buono is the greatest coach in CFL history. I mean, his stats, I thought it was interesting in the paper this week when some people were saying, you know, they expect the Grey Cup championship from Wally Buono. He's had 3 Grey Cups. He's 11 times won the division. You think someone in Saskatchewan would like to have those kind of numbers? They'd like, you know, well, I mean, the expectations are unreal.
Comes to BC, he hasn't completed 4 years. He already has 46 wins with a new franchise. And back Pierce dropped, and there's Patrick again, and this time he gets to the quarterback, and the Stamps have their first sack of the afternoon.
Number 93 with the quarterback sack.
Terrence Patrick, 5 sacks coming into this game, just seems to get better, and he takes an inside move on Jason Jimenez and really beats Jimenez, whose technique and footwork went a little south there. Terrence Patrick took advantage of it and ran right by him.
The Lions have really had the better of the field position territorially in this first half, and pushing them back like that was big for Calgary now, as they have a chance to cut into the 4-point lead with 65 seconds on the clock, and Marcus Howell awaiting the McCallum punt.
Second quarter better for the Stampeders, though. Number one, their offense started to move the ball a little bit with Joffrey Reynolds, and their defense now has made a few plays. So they're starting to build some momentum in this second quarter. See if they can carry it into the second half.
Howell fielding it at the 36, and he's got a good return. And Marcus Howell up near midfield before he's finally brought down 17 yards on the return for Marcus Howell. A reminder, coming up at halftime, the boys have been double dipping today, so they'll wrap up that Winnipeg win. Talk about our first half. Was Dave Randorf a kicker? Because remember last year, Brian Diesberg, Schultze couldn't help Diesberg from 20, nor could Dunnigan from 30. Climby, nothing from 40. And then Randorf comes in, says, here's what you got to do, Brian. And he hits from 50 yards.
Relax. Just relax. That was a big kick.
Calgary at the 53.
Boy, we had a lot of viewers watching Diesberg nail that one for $1 million. See if we can have a repeat performance this year in a week.
54 seconds remaining. First half, Burris looked one way and then throws back. And Joffrey Reynolds made the first man miss and has a first down at the 45. Javi Glatt the tackle.
Yeah, Taylor Robertson just gets a piece of, I believe, Otis Floyd when they get out here. Here's Joffrey Reynolds, who's going to just sneak out of here and pick up this little screen. And when he does that, watch 65 red right there. That's a pretty good pickup right here. And he just gets enough of Otis Floyd so that Joffrey Reynolds can get to the outside. Floyd can't get there. Great move in the open field by 2-1, and good game by Calgary.
And without a huddle, here's Burris. Rambo, Kenyon Rambo, atoning for the fumble, and he will score. Touchdown. A Rambo rumble, and the Stampeders have the lead.
Henry Burris has been accused sometimes of trying to do too much. And his coach, Tom Higgins, continually reminding him to just distribute the football to your weapons and let them handle it. He just dumped that little swing pass out to Kenyon Rambo, and a nice run in the open field, likely inspired by the previous run from Joffrey Reynolds.
5th touchdown of the year for Rambo. Extra point is good. And Henry Burris celebrates his 21st touchdown pass of the year. You mentioned it. The message is put the ball in the hands of the playmakers because they can make plays. And Kenyon Rambo just made a 46-yarder.
It doesn't have to be a big throw. And Kenyon Rambo is going to just get out of the backfield. And he's just going to come out in this area here. And when he does, it's almost a little sidearm toss from Henry Burris. There he is right there. He just catches on the 40. Now look at the open running room, and Baron Miles, is safety, he's in an almost impossible situation coming across the field. He's opened up the cutback lane on Kenyon Rambo, and if he sits on the cutback lane, then Rambo just accelerates past him to the end zone. It's almost an impossible situation for Baron Miles in the open field, and Kenyon Rambo has lots of room to run in.
5th touchdown of the season for Rambo. And just his 2nd in the last 7 games. Henry Burris, 8 completions last week before he was pulled. 129 yards. He has topped that in the first half. His 9th completion, he has 132 passing yards so far. And the short kickoff, it's 29 seconds remaining on the clock. Lyle Green fielding that kickoff, and the Lions have just under a half minute to work with. And for a guy that gets a lot of criticism, it's maybe a little surprising to see that he is at the top of the chart in touchdown passes on the year.
Yeah, Henry Burris, a lot of the criticism, of course, sort of coming when he plays against the BC Lions, which has been his kryptonite. But that's another one in the books, and 21 on the season. Not bad.
How does Buck Pierce play this last 29 seconds? Rolling left. Gotta pull it down. And he's dropped at the 44-yard line. J.R. Ruffin moved up. Wes Lysak there, and Pierce couldn't see anybody downfield.
Nine-man makes a good choice not to try and force it to Claremont, which was really his only target over there, and Claremont was well covered. And rather than turn it over and give Calgary another shot at some more points, he keeps the sticks moving. At the very least, the BC Lions go to the half down by 3.
6 yards, and Pierce in a hurry here. He wants more. And Claremont dropped the football at the 50. That would have been a first down, and well, the Lions will run out the clock, and Claremont laments a missed opportunity.
You know, Claremont has been coming back to form since the knee injury, but not in complete Jason Claremont form. I mean, you never see that, number one. He dropped one early in the game, a deep pass last week from Buck Pierce against the Calgary Stampeders. Came on and then had, I think, 3 catches in that game, but he's just not quite the Jason Claremont we're used to seeing. He never drops passes.
Yeah,
like that.
Yesterday he was saying, I feel like I've gone through a second preseason and now I'm getting into like game 6 or 7 instead of game 16. Of course, he missed a lot of action. Ball off the back of the BC Lion cover man.
Or did it hit a Calgary Stampeder?
Carl Kidd or one of the Stamps?
It may have been a Stamp, and if it was, Carl Kidd was in the no yards area.
It's a 33-yard punt, and there's 6 seconds remaining. Let's see who the penalty goes against.
BC number 26, 15-yard penalty.
See who it hits.
So it is Carl Kidd, and it is a 15-yard no yards, and it did go off the Stampeder.
They ran out of my little square there, but it did come off Reinhardt off the right shoulder, and that puts Carl Kidd in the no yards area.
So 6 seconds left. The ball at the 50. Does Burroughs put a knee down, or does he try for an out to get into Sandro DeAngelis?
I think you put
field goal range.
I think you put a bunch of receivers to one side, throw it up, and maybe get an interference call or a catch. Who knows?
Long developing play. Lewis on the backfield, and whoa! He took a heavy hit from Carl Kidd on the final play of the first half. As Banks and Lewis exchange words, and boy, their first half's not done, and the face mask grabbed more than once. Well, that will help set the tone for the second half here. It's 14-11 Stamps after 30 minutes.
Dunnigan and Jock climbing, and it's 14-11 for the Calgary Stampeders as things kind of turned around there in the final minutes of that second quarter. And Jock, here you have a team, the Stamps, 5 games in a row they've lost to the BC Lions. Last time they beat them was September 2004. Remember that one, Matt?
Were you part of that group? Go ahead, Chuck.
Remember that one?
I'd love to break that game down.
Yeah, bottom line is they know they can't catch them, but they have to beat them here because to get to the Grey Cup, they got to go through Vancouver. So what you see from the Stamps?
Well, they're going about it the right way as far as I'm concerned because they're relying on their big horse, Joffrey Reynolds, who I've said time and time again is one of the greatest running backs I've seen in this game, quite literally, and I'm going to show you for aspiring running backs things that you can learn from him. Here's an example of where you cut with 2 feet. So sometimes you've got to just keep your body parallel to the line of scrimmage and make a cut right off the line of scrimmage. Other times when you're in an open field, you want to break a tackle, you sink your hips. And watch how he just sinks his hips right now to get around Banks. It's like he's running and Banks wasn't even there, but he does that by lowering his center of gravity. So aspiring running backs out there, you can watch Joffrey Reynolds and watch how at times he plants both feet, complete a misdirection, other times just sinks the hips and runs through the tackles. He's just awesome to watch.
Yeah, Jocko, and I'm getting a lot of pleasure watching Joe Smith on the other side. Joffrey Reynolds got 76 total yards rushing, or total yards in the ballgame. Joe Smith, he's got 71. Both quarterbacks are relying on the running backs, really not pushing the football down the field. Early on, you see Buck Pierce get Joe Smith involved in the game. Real simple play, well executed way to start the football game. And then it's Joe Smith dumping down. He's not forcing the football, taking what the defense gives him. This is incredible to watch a young quarterback utilize a back like this. And then Joe Smith, he's second to Joffrey Reynolds. He's probably the best runner, north-south runner in the league. And here, stops in the hole, then he makes up good first down yardage shows. And to me, that's a key for BC. First down yardage and production for the young quarterback, Buck Pierce.
Well, Joe Smith had his best runs in the first quarter. Joffrey Reynolds had his best runs in the second quarter, and that's the way this game won. This is how the game is falling apart in the sense that early in the game, Buck Pierce opening it up, and they did get a bit lucky there when they went for the body tackle and not the wrap, but the BC Lions were so well prepared. First time they had the ball, 8 plays, 94 yards. They went in for a touchdown. Just remarkable level of efficiency. Their greatest strength is the way they start the games. And on the exact opposite, Henry Burris looked very average, looked very shaky in the first quarter. But Calgary regained their confidence in that second quarter. And I thought the BC Lions kind of lost their confidence in the second quarter. So who will play well in this third quarter? We'll find out.
Confidence or edge? I mean, November 12th. That is the next time they play a meaningful game, the Western Final at BC Place in Vancouver. So it's tough, you know, to think, well, we got to come out and bring it week after week. But if there's one team that can, I think it's the BC Lions in the second half. Calgary has gotten lucky. A couple of turnovers have not cost them any points. This was the Boston Pizza CFL poll question we asked you. Which player is most valuable to his team? And yeah, running away with it. We thought it would go this way. With 40% of the vote, the leading receiver and MVP favorite right now in the entire league, Leroy Simon.
CFL players, presented by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra.
The ball is punched loose, recovered for Calgary by Wayne Harris.
For 11 consecutive seasons as a member of the Calgary Stampeders, he was a Western Conference All-Star. Even though Wayne Harris suffered 2 Grey Cup losses, his determination and drive could not be stopped. In 1971, Calgary went back to the big show and this time did not come home empty-handed.
Stampeder fans have waited 23 years for this moment, and the Calgarians go wild.
He had finally won his championship and was also named Grey Cup MVP.
The CFL Top 50 Players list will be unveiled as part of the Grey Cup festivities in Winnipeg. For more information on that program and a complete list of all the great nominees, please visit tsn.ca/CFL Top 50. Now, here are the halftime numbers brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet.
Hey, Dave, 2 things about the statistical board are really interesting. First, turnovers, 2 for Calgary, none for BC, yet Calgary's winning by 3. And then at the bottom, look at the field goals, 1 for 3, a possible 6 points not allowed by the Calgary Stampeders. They have to play another perfect half.
This time last week, it was 21-3 for BC. So Tom Higgins, no doubt in a much better mood when he spoke to our Jermaine Franklin.
Coach Higgins, you found a way to run the ball. How were you guys more successful in the first half?
Well, we needed to get first downs in order to get back to what we'd like to do, is to be able to run the football. So as soon as we started to get a couple of first downs, then all of a sudden we can hand the ball to Joffrey, and that's been the key all year.
How important is it for this offense to get a rhythm against the BC defense this season?
Well, you know what? A good first half for us. Now we just have to have another good 30 minutes. And if we can get first downs like we did in the first half, we should be pretty good.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Can I go over here?
Well, Kenyon Rambo fumbled the ball moments earlier, and then a few moments later, he's in the end zone, and it's 14-11 Stamps.
Sony, and available in 5.1 digital Dolby surround sound. 14-11 as we get set for the second half here and compare the numbers put up by the 2 quarterbacks.
Well, Buck Pierce got off to the great start, as he always does when he enters a game, whether it be starting it or coming in off the bench. 9 of 13 in that first half. Henry Burris, a shaky start like Chris Schultz mentioned at halftime, but a better second quarter and more Joffrey Reynolds in the second quarter helped Henry Burris.
We take on the best skiers in the world at the Lake Louise Winter Star World Cup.
The big play of that first half was Kenyon Rambo's pass and catch for the touchdown of 46 yards.
Again, the BC Lions have first place locked up in the West Division. The Calgary Stampeders do not have the home playoff game wrapped up yet. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, who a lot of people seem to be overlooking these days.
Lions to get things out.
Stampeders need one more win. They'd like to nail it down this afternoon. Their 10th win of the year. And they take the opening kickoff of the second half. J.R. Ruffin on the run. And he's up over the 45-yard line. And a little hostility to start the second half, as we ended the first half with tempers flaring and Nick Lewis in the middle of it. And Andre Prue may have his work cut out for him in the second half.
Well, but the Calgary Stampeders, more than anything, is the old teammates going at it there, George White and Scott Coe. But the Calgary Stampeders, more than anything, have to control that stuff. I mean, they took a bad penalty in the first half. You know, it didn't cost them too badly because they do have the lead, but those type of penalties in a fourth quarter can be the difference between winning and losing.
So So the Stamps start at their own 46-yard line. And the counter to Reynolds off the left side to the 50 and close to 4. For Reynolds, who has regained the rushing lead in the league. However, he is playing his 17th game. Charlie Roberts will have a game in hand after today.
There's 3 punts for Steve Barato's offense in the first half, basically in the first quarter, and then he got some success in the second quarter with a couple of touchdowns. And again, on the first play of this drive in the second half, went with the tight end formation. Double tight ends to get the running game going. He's got good yardage on first down. See if they can convert.
Double tight ends here on 2nd and 6, short drop, and a pass caught for Rambo as it was delivered in his back pocket. Rambo makes the catch in front of Dante Marsh.
Yeah, so they go again with tight end formation. Here you go, tight end outside and a tight end out here where you can't barely see. Now watch Javi Glatt in the middle here. Javi Glatt now is getting closer to the line of scrimmage with those tight ends, hopping up, and then again, real shallow and not in the passing lane. So that double tight end formation for Calgary is influencing the linebacking core for the BC Lions.
It's just Rambo's 6th game over 50 yards receiving this year. His best was a 95-yard game against Montreal. That pass out of the backfield, incomplete, intended for the fullback, Jill Leslie.
And Henry Burris wanted Leslie to get outside and keep running outside. He led the fullback out there, and Leslie just sort of geared down, and he went over to explain that to him as he headed to the bench. And now, like they weren't in the first time, in the first play of this series, they had good first down success in 2nd and medium. Now they're 2nd and long. That goes to the defense's favor.
2nd and 10 at the BC 46. And that pass complete. Elijah Thurman in front of Dante Marsh, and another first down completion by Henry Burris.
Elijah Thurman has become the primary target in this game for Henry Burris. He's looking to the short side of the field for Thurman, lines up, and Thurman is doing a nice job of route running. Now he's had to work for every catch because Dante Marsh and LeVar Glover have been close on every throw.
So Rambo and Thurman have been active. What about the slot backs?
Not so much.
Lewis over 1,000 yards receiving on the year. And Copeland came into this game needing 89 yards for 1,000. And Copeland without a catch so far.
Boy, and that's back-to-back games. And Henry Burris calls a timeout here. He had a formation in there that didn't match the defense the Lions presented, so he called the timeout. But they've done a lot of talking. They haven't really done a lot of the walking part of it. And there's the last 3 games for the dynamic duo inside, and they're better than that. They're better players than those numbers. I mean, all that other stuff aside, those are 2 premier football players at the receiver position and should have better numbers than that.
Calgary at the BC 31.
Nick Lewis does have 3 catches this afternoon. So they take the timeout. They come out with this formation we saw earlier. And Burris on a roll, just gets away, looks to the end zone. Incomplete, intended again for Elijah Thurman.
Elijah Thurman had a long way to go. He was the receiver on the right side of the formation and had to go all the way across the field and get over here. Here's his path all the way that way, with Henry Burris going all the way over here and then trying to flip his hips around and throw it all the way back against the flow. Thurman jumps outside, and he's trying to come all the way across the field. A real tough throw to make accurately for a quarterback rolling that direction.
You know, Suits, with that formation, neither Copeland or Lewis is on the field. They check back in now on 2nd and 10 and a 6-pack of receivers for Burris, who looks downfield again, incomplete, and this time Marcus Howell, the intended target.
Mark Washington all over Marcus Howell, and of the choices that Henry Burris had there, I think he took the wrong one. I mean, not that it's Marcus Howell, the receiver, but the the coverage presented by Mark Washington just too tight. Copeland was open. Now this was a primary target here. He breaks out here. Now he's wide open in first down territory. Elijah Thurman was running a crossing route, was open. It's easy to say when you're sitting up here and looking at the big picture. A little different when you're Henry Burris and the bullets are flying around you.
Well, DeAngelis has a shot at Dave Ridgway's record. If he's successful here, he ties Mark McLaughlin's record, and he just does tuck it in. That's the 54th field goal of the year for DeAngelis, tying Mark McLaughlin's record. Lead after the 39-yard field goal by the super sophomore Sandro DeAngelis. And now the defense is fired up for Calgary as Joe Smith is caught in the backfield for a loss. Demetrius Maxey, who's moved inside with the tackle.
Mark McLaughlin in attendance on the BC Lions sideline. Sandro DeAngelis tying his mark. And on pace for 60 field goals this year. You have to have a few in this second half, and that would be a CFL record. Ridgway set in 1990 with 59.
Do you and Ridgway co-hold that record?
Well, 50-50 right down the middle is how I would classify it.
Pressure, look out, Pierce somehow escaped and throws to Claremont, a completion at the 50. Jason Claremont dropped at midfield. There is a flag, but how did Buck Pierce avoid the sack?
See what the flag is here. It may be coming back.
And a Lions penalty.
But what a play from Buck Pierce, and how he knew that Chapman was coming off the edge and was able to avoid what looked like a knockout shot for the Calgary Stampeders.
Illegal forward pass. BC number 16, 10-yard penalty. Still second down.
Let's show it again. First of all, remarkable that Buck Pierce could. The pressure's coming from out here, and Buck Pierce, watch him duck it right here. Somehow he feels that pressure. Now he gets up in the line, and
that looked close.
Looked very close. It starts. Well, he didn't let go of it until he was over. Good call by the officials.
So it's second and 23. And Pierce guns it over the middle, and a completion there to Claremont. It'll be third down, but some valuable real estate on the completion.
And it's a game about real estate. I mean, this is a big catch because Claremont, who lines up right here, he's a third receiver, and he's going to come all the way over here. If Jason Claremont doesn't make this catch, the difference in field position after the punt is going to be remarkable. Buck Pierce just throws a strike. I mean, it's down there. He's got a throwing lane because Jimenez makes a nice block, and not a big window to get the ball into, and he does it.
16 yards, the length of the gain. 3rd and 7, Marcus Howell in as a punt returner. And McCallum to kick.
Big
penalty marker down. Howell at his 27. And he is collared and brought down. Ricky Foley with the high tackle. We'll sort out the flags when we come back. Holding penalty on the return. Calgary will start at their own 17-yard line. Henry Burris and company trying to snap a 5-game losing streak head-to-head against these BC Lions. Joffrey Reynolds gets outside. And Reynolds out at the 27 has a first down. Well, TSN is your home for NFL Sunday and Monday Night Football. Tonight, Oakland takes on the Broncos in Denver, part of our Super Sunday. That comes up next. Then tomorrow, Chicago and Arizona, the unbeaten Bears at 7:30 Eastern. Both games also available in TSN high definition.
The renovation game with all the terrific brand name products.
Nice run on first down for the Calgary Stampeders and Joffrey Reynolds. Only one guy that could have stopped that run was Mark Washington, who got caught a little bit inside. Reynolds shows his ability to be able to bounce outside and use speed to the sideline, and we'll have enough for the first down.
It is a first down, Calgary Stampeders.
Tom Higgins talked about a response. Didn't look like he was getting the right response in the opening quarter, but it's been a much better Stampeder team today as they try to gain some confidence before what they hope is a showdown in the Western Final against BC. We were going back to '89 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the fact you beat Edmonton, a 16-2 team, before you got to that Western Final made a difference, didn't it? Here's a completion down the middle, and it's Jermaine Copeland with his first catch, and a big one to the Lions 50.
Henry Burris finally finds Jermaine Copeland coming right across the middle. Mark Washington's playing the zone defense. He's real deep, and Copeland knows one thing. He's in that area. He's going to get hit. You might as well hang on to the football, and he does a nice job of doing that, maintaining concentration, knowing Mark Washington is right in the area. And that's a pretty good hit. In fact, it looked like it almost tackled the football.
Copeland with a 33-yard pickup, now 944 yards for the season. He's 8th in the CFL. The fake to Reynolds, the option fake. Burris looking to the sidelines, but Dante Marsh stuck with Elijah Thurman.
Jermaine Copeland would have been doing a touchdown dance. And Henry Burris found him.
A couple of fakes, but again, Marsh stuck with his man, and Burris didn't see your guy.
He didn't. He was in behind coverage by about 5 yards, and a similar pattern to the one he just caught. Burris just happened to look the opposite direction.
So it's 2nd and 10. Lots of time for Henry Burris. Right back to Copeland. There is a flag on the play.
You see what happens, though, when a receiver has success deep on a play and how that will mess with the minds of a defensive back, because as soon as you get beat deep, whether it be in zone or man, you start to back up just a little bit. Ryan Phillips there gave Copeland a lot more room than he had in the first half. That time Copeland just turned in front of Phillips, but it looks like it's coming back.
Offside. Calgary number 80. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
So it is Copeland who jumped the gun.
And watch the room that he's going to get here from Phillips right there in the coverage. He's got a big cushion, turns quickly like he's going to go deep, and then he has to put the brakes on, but all for naught.
It wipes out an 18-yard gain and makes it 2nd and 15 back at midfield. 5 receivers. And Burris dumps it off. Great move by Reynolds. And Reynolds gets back to the original line of scrimmage, the 50, where it will be 3rd down.
You know, that's a good move by Joffrey Reynolds, but even saying that, Carl Kidd does the right thing. You know, Carl Kidd's playing under even more pressure now with the pickup of George White by the BC Lions, but Carl Kidd does the right thing because he goes outside far enough that Reynolds can make that move going back into the middle. But that's where Carl Kidd's friends are coming. That's where the pursuit is for the BC Lions, and they hold Calgary short. If Reynolds can bounce outside of Kidd, he's got way more yards on the play.
So Burke Dales to punt. Ian Smart set for the return. And it's Smart from his 9. Flag flies. Cates has Smart wrapped up, but a no yards call. We're midway into the 3rd quarter at McMahon Stadium. Wendy's Kick for $1 million next Friday in Toronto, Saskatchewan. And the Toronto Argonauts. And Joe Smith out of the backfield with that catch.
And when Bill was first named, apparently, when they pulled his name out, he went out and kicked a few. They just wanted to take a look at him. Pre-scouting report. And apparently he made some from 40.
He was pretty good.
Right in around 45, he made some kicks. I don't know the exact numbers, but he's got a shot, you know. And last year our guy made it, and he was a soccer guy, so it's going to be interesting.
So Bill looks good now, and he hasn't even had time with Noel Prefontaine or Dave Rendorf yet. So
yeah, I mean, got to stay away from Schultz, Climbing, and Dunnigan. That's the only thing.
2nd and 5. Pierce took a hit, got it away. And the intended receiver, Simon, looked like he was bumped near the end and bucks up a little slowly. Remember, he had the injured elbow a few weeks ago in Hamilton.
Well, this is the difference that pressure can make on the quarterback, because Geroy Simon was open, and if Buck Pierce had a lane to step up into, he might have had a chance to complete this for a first down. Simon comes across the middle. I like the fact that there's no flag on that right there, because Lysak was incidental contact, and that ball was really not catchable because of the pressure.
Nothing incidental about former BC Lion Tony Tiller in his lick on Buck Pierce. McCallum's kick in front of the Calgary bench, and the Stamps are going to get the football on the BC side of half. Yards penalty after the McCallum punt, and the Stamps in business at the Lion 49-yard line.
Double tights.
And Joffrey Reynolds, the ball carrier, wrapped up immediately by Aaron Hunt. Took him about 6 or 7 games to adjust to this league with the 1 yard off the line of scrimmage, but he's been dominant.
Well, and he gets some help too. Remember how Javier Glad's been trying to decide how to handle this. Now he's going to come up here and occupy in that double tight end set. He's going to occupy a couple of blocks, and that allows Aaron Hunt to come off of that block and off his one-on-one and get in the backfield. So the Lions are now figuring out how to counteract the double tight end set.
Loss of 1, 2nd and 11. Like Brent Johnson's lined up almost as an inside man. And a long out. And it's knocked down by Mark Washington, intended to Marcus Howell, and that is a dangerous rope to throw.
You know, with the play of so many great talented stars in the BC Lions defense, Mark Washington, I think, gets overlooked a lot in that defense. He's a guy who comes in and leads the secondary in tackles. He's one of the best tacklers in Canadian football in the open field, and he's played a tremendous game. In fact, if you're watching this game from the live perspective and seeing him on every play, you would consider him a player of this game so far. Mark Washington's quietly having a tremendous football game.
Washington, the 10-year veteran. Here's Dales looking for the angled punt. Great bounce, well, maybe too good. And that's not what he wanted to look like. It was going to be perfectly placed inside the 10, but too much English and a single point.
Give a warm welcome to today's guests from the oncology.
Final home game of the regular season here at McMahon. The Stampeders' best home record, 7-1, trying to nail down a home playoff date. The Western semifinal against Saskatchewan. Joe Smith is grabbed at the line of scrimmage. Randy Chevrier, John Grace, no gain.
Randy Chevrier, 76 up there.
Jarius Jackson in at quarterback. A reminder, you can vote for the player of the game in the 4th quarter. Use your Rogers phone and send to Go CFL. Rogers brings you the latest MP3 phones.
Well, there's a couple of guys that have some stats tonight. Kenyon Rambo, Joffrey Reynolds, and I like Mark Washington. I might vote for Mark Washington. It was a quiet, real good quiet game from that secondary.
Jarius Jackson to throw, and that one knocked down. Brian Clark got a hand on it as Jackson in for Buck Pierce, and we're not sure the extent of Pierce's injury or whether they're taking him out for a precautionary situation after the Tony Tiller hit on the last series.
This is the last series. Go back to that hit. It's right under the chin from Tony Tiller. He steps in the hole and bang, right there and into that arm. And as Buck Pierce is trying to throw, it looked like he got that right arm hit. He reached for it immediately. And of course, Wally Buono has the luxury of being able to be cautious with Buck Pierce, even if it's just a little bit sore after that hit, to rest him with first place locked up and with the situation that Dave Dickinson still faces.
Remember, he got hit on the right elbow in the Hall of Fame game in Hamilton. And the arm went numb, and he had to come out for the second half. Marcus Howell, he's dropped. Ricky Foley downfield quickly once again. A reminder that the NHL on TSN returns Tuesday. The Philadelphia Flyers taking on the Sabres in Buffalo. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific. Available in TSN high definition, and the way things have gone early in the TSN NHL schedule, we could go to overtime or a shootout again.
Yeah. You can play, can't you play hockey outside in Buffalo these days?
You probably could. bring a shovel.
Yeah.
There's Buck. On the sidelines, the coat is on. Will we see him again today? The swing pass, Nick Lewis is stopped, and there's your buddy Mark Washington making another big defensive play.
Good tackle by Washington. Let's go back now, because Buck Pierce just put on that big overcoat over on the BC Lions sideline. I'm not sure if we'll see him again. We'll get our guy Jermaine Copeland on that story, but that looked like a hit that maybe hurt a little more than even it looked, and it looked like it hurt a lot. He reached right over for that same elbow. And they do not want to lose Buck Pierce and have Dave Dickinson still a big question mark.
Loss of 1 second and 11. Burris looks to the sideline, and he's got Elijah Thurman. And a first down catch.
On the sideline has a Stampeder first down.
Pretty good timing throw there from Henry Burris to get it to the sideline. This is all timing. The ball has to be out of Burris's hands on an out route like this before the receiver makes his cut. So he steps up in there, and he has a little pressure in front of him too. So there's that connection. Lies with Thurman, Henry Burris.
At the Calgary 49, a first down. And here's Reynolds. Pretty good size hole, and Reynolds to midfield as we check in with Jermaine Franklin.
As I just made it to the sideline, Buck Pierce was taping his elbow with ice, but the official word is he bruised his elbow on that last play, and there's still a chance that he will get back in.
Did I call him Jermaine Copeland?
Well, you know, not as grievous an error as I made a couple of weeks ago here. So
there goes my chance at the perfect show.
Well, you could see he came out with a hot hand, but it cooled off, and now he's got a sore arm. You wonder why you'd force him back into a game with first place locked up. Wally Buono doesn't want to send the message that these games aren't important. So if he can play, Buono wants him in. An incompletion, Wes Cates, the intended receiver. It'll be third down, but Buono yesterday said that's why he has to have his starting guys in, because if he gives him the day off, what does it tell the rest of his players? And then you lose momentum, you lose your edge, and your last 2 or 3 games of the regular season, you don't play as well.
And if you're not playing with the same intensity, that's when you get hurt. And that's why Wally Buono's message is keep playing the same way we played all season long. And the procedure there is ask the player, ask the trainer. If both say, yeah, I'm good, then you put them back in. Simple as that.
Birkdale's to kick. Smart at his 10. Got through the first wave.
A 45-yard kick.
And up to the 17. A 45-yard boot. So Jarius Jackson's at the controls. Handing off to Joe Smith. And Smith dragged down
number 33, the ball carrier.
at the 23-yard line.
Brought down by Terrence Patrick,
Well,
93 for Calgary after a game of
Jarius
5.
Jackson gets some playing time while Buck Pierce just rests up and recoups over there. And Dave Dickinson didn't even make the trip.
No, but the word is Dave's feeling a little bit better and should be able to go back to work this week. And they said if this was the Western Final, Dave Dickinson would be at the controls for the Lions. Jackson with the blitz on, throws complete to Claremont. And where's his forward progress? Looks like he's going to be short of the first down. Jackson's stock went up in the BC camp with his good relief job in Hamilton when Pierce was shaken up against the Tiger Cats.
Well, Buck Pierce is a little banged up right now. Jackson's in there. So the third team guy is a newcomer, Todd Mortensen, number 18 in the lineup. There's Todd Mortensen, 3 years at Brigham Young University, 1 year at the University of San Diego. Very bright passing quarterback. His last team was the Sea Devils. Where are the Sea Devils, you might ask?
That's the Hamburg Sea Devils.
That's the Hamburg Sea Devils in NFL Europe. So he was an undrafted pickup by the Detroit Lions and then went over to NFL Europe. So he's the number 3 guy right now. Dave Dickinson not dressed for this game. Hopefully he gets better for the entire league's say. You don't want to see the great stars in the game.
Paul McCallum with the fake and then kicks it away. It was third and just over a yard. McCallum had thoughts. And now Marcus Howell flags down, trying to get outside. And he is dropped at the Calgary 50-yard line. Well, that was an eventful, what could have been the final play of the third quarter, and we may end up having one more play now with penalty markers down.
Is it just me, or does Wally Buono have a bit of a frustrated look on his face every time Paul McCallum is on the field these days?
Well, the last couple of games, that has been almost his only reason for concern.
You know, he struggled a little bit field goal. He comes in as the best kicker in the league as far as field goal percentage, but, you know, that's sort of a situation where he has the green light to, if he sees it wide open, to go ahead and take off and run. He's a veteran, and coaches will trust him in that. But when you do that and then get caught, you're kicking on the run, you don't get as much on it, and now you get your guys caught in a no-yard situation, and it goes, it turns into good field position.
BC number 26.
For the opposition.
5-yard penalty. First down.
You wonder if McCallum's struggles coincide with the Wally Buono decision back in Saskatchewan, though, and when he was not able to punt the ball through for the single in overtime. Well, they lose the game, and he hasn't been the same guy since.
No, he hasn't, but I think Paul McCallum is a veteran player and smarter than that to allow a decision like that to affect him mentally. I'm not sure why he's struggling. He's healthy, that's for sure.
But the only problem the Lions have had of late, although they've got their hands full here. Reynolds with a 5-yard carry. That's the end of the third quarter. And the Calgary Stampeders with a 7-point lead.
Pays to renovate from October 11th to 31st.
Well, it's a 7-point lead heading to the fourth quarter for Calgary, and the third quarter stats are brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL.
A good comeback by Calgary so far, because they had just one first down in the first quarter. They now have 19 first downs, 9 more than the Lions, and they have the lead despite 2 turnovers. So big comeback over the last couple of quarters for Calgary.
So you wonder if the Lions may be relaxing a bit, or is this the kind of response Tom Higgins was looking for today?
It is, and a little bit of a surprising first quarter slow start for Calgary, but they did bounce back, and I think it's the adjustments by Steve Barato in that tight end formation and how Joffrey Reynolds has been involved that's also helped.
Trying to snap a 5-game losing streak against the BC Lions, and on 2nd and 6, Marcus Howell can't bring it in. It'll be third down.
Important catches and important misses. That one, Marcus Howell, who's been a great comeback story of his own for the Calgary Stampeders this year, signed a long-term contract a couple of weeks ago, and kind of worked his way through hard work to become a regular in the punt return department, up around 10-yard average in that department. So they feel like they solved the problem there, but that's a big drop, because that would have moved the sticks for the Calgary Stampeders, and they have to punt the football.
Stamps, though, have had field position edge in the second half after BC really enjoyed great field position in the first half of the game. Burke Dales will try and pin them again with Ian Smart back. And they don't get the play off. Time count violation. Through 3 quarters, Calgary with over 300 yards of offense. The Lions had held their opponents to under 300 yards in 3.
Time count violation. Calgary number 16, 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
In 3 of the last 4 games and 6 times this season. So the offense has been able to enjoy some success against a very stingy BCD.
Well, how they're changing the trend too. BC has outscored opponents in the first half in a big way. They didn't in this game.
Smart. And he's brought down by Shannon James, the newcomer. And Jarius Jackson comes back to start the fourth quarter for BC.
Right, folks, time for the 50-50
as Buck Pierce remains on the sidelines.
As you can see, 3, 4, 4.
Let's show you how he ended up on the sideline in the first place one more time. Tony Tiller catches Buck Pierce. Looked like he got him right between underneath the shoulder of the right arm, the throwing arm. Now, we got the report from Jermaine Franklin that he may return, and that's what they were saying on the bench. Not yet.
And the original shot was on the funny bone, and he went numb, and Jarius Jackson hit as he delivers the football. They're ruling it an incomplete pass. As Khalid Abdullah and company get to the quarterback.
And the question is, was Jarius Jackson in the throwing motion and the arm going forward as he's hit? Abdullah off the edge gets his hand on it. Was the arm going forward? It looked like it was. An incomplete pass can't be reviewed by Tom Higgins.
Just the strength of Jackson may have been able to propel that right arm forward to avoid the fumble. 2nd and 10, looking for Paris Jackson, and a quick 2 and out for Jarius Jackson. And let's check back in with Jermaine Franklin.
Well, Chris, you mentioned the possibility of BC maybe letting up. Well, one player that certainly isn't accepting it is Geroy Simon. Prior to their last, or after their last offensive effort, he came off on the sidelines and made sure his players knew his feelings, ripping his helmet off and screaming, letting them know that the effort that they've been putting forth isn't acceptable.
Well, he's a leading receiver and a leader, and you can see the frustration, and he has not had a second half catch, and I'm sure it's not the major focus, but his chances of getting Alan Pitt's record are diminishing without a big game today. Marcus Howell! Big return by Howell, still going, and finally McCallum has to knock him out near the 10-yard line. That's a 57-yard return for Howell. Tom Higgins was telling us how Marcus Howell has really given them a legitimate punt returner, and he delivers a 57-yarder to set up Henry Burris and company. Fake to Reynolds into the end zone. Elijah Thurman, touchdown! The former Saskatchewan connection.
BC number 31. Penalties decline. Touchdown.
Burris to Thurman, clicks for Thurman's 5th of the year.
Quick Six has a chance to warm up as the horse makes the lap. And that timing throw that Henry Burris has leaned on a bunch to number 84 on the outside. Elijah Thurman, mentioned earlier in the 3rd quarter, he's been the go-to guy this afternoon. And that's a big one after the Marcus Howell huge return to set it up.
11-yard touchdown toss. After the 57-yard return, DeAngelis adds the extra point. Henry Burris with another touchdown pass and a 14-point lead.
First place team representing Special Olympics were lucky enough to come.
Well, Craig Dickinson special teams helped set up a touchdown for Tom Higgins' offense.
Now the touchdown to Elijah Thurman, who's on the outside here, is a timing throw again. And watch how he gets the hips of Dante Marsh turned upfield. Now the hips turn up to the field. He thinks he's going long. It's the throw behind, catches it on the sideline, and interferes with Thurman, which was, of course, declined by the Calgary Stampeders.
So just under 13 minutes remaining. It's a 14-point Calgary lead as they try to nail down home field in the Western Semi against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Ian Smart regains his balance, and then a low bridge there, and Wes Cates with the tackle. And this game has turned around dramatically. Good cover there by Cates, and a big return earlier by this man.
And 2 guys get helpers because it is hockey season, so I'm going to throw that in on this 7-point play by the Calgary Stampeders. There's one, Wes Lysak, big block to get Marcus Howell to the outside. Another helper coming up here by Nick Lewis. Bang, right there, another big block. That it opens up Marcus Howell to get even more yardage down the sideline, set up to 7 points. So helper to Nick Lewis and Wes Lysak.
3rd series for Jarius Jackson in relief of a Nick Buck Pierce. Sets up and fires. There's Geroy Simon seething at the bench, and Simon comes out with a 15-yard catch.
Let's go right back to that touchdown one more time by Elijah Thurman. And they've been working this a bunch because Henry Burris has set it up by going deep to Thurman, going down the sideline to Thurman, and then the nice throw behind, and that ball put in a perfect spot. Concentration by Thurman to keep his hands and his legs in bounds. Hands on the ball, legs in bounds, and that gets the special teams pumped up.
The Stampeder team, certainly that. And for Jarius Jackson and the Lions, that pass to G-Roy Simon, their initial first down of the second half. At the 32, a first down, pressure. That pass thrown high, intended for Ryan Thelwell.
You know, and I know Jarius Jackson's, you mentioned, Chris, his stock has gone up a little bit. He played pretty well against Hamilton, but it still looks like a different offense to me when Buck Pierce or Dave Dickinson is not running it. I mean, Jacques Chapdelaine will run the exact same game plan with Jarius Jackson that he does with Buck Pierce, but there just seems to be, I don't know, more nervous-looking players out there. There's not quite the calm demeanor of the offense when it's Jarius Jackson. He almost kind of got happy feet out there when he's at the controls.
2nd and 10 for Jackson. And he's got Claremont wide open at midfield. Jason Claremont with the catch.
Jarius Jackson throwing complete.
Looked like he was isolated on the newcomer, Shannon James.
It's a good touch throw by Jarius Jackson because, you know, he come in and Jarius Jackson with limited reps this year. When he has come in a lot, it's been on those third down gambles for a yard. You need a little composure and touch to be able to drop that football up over top of the coverage and just drop it right into Claremont. Confidence builder for Claremont.
Claremont with his 4th catch for 58. At midfield, a first down and a one-hopper intended for G-Roy Simon.
Oh, and he ran such a nice route, too. G-Roy Simon just used different speeds on that out route on Reinhardt. He gears down a little bit. This is a real nice route running from G-Roy Simon right there. He comes up the field, watch, he comes up the field, slows down a bit, and then busts it out to the outside, is wide open, and the ball one hop.
2nd and 10. From midfield. And Jackson, that pass incomplete. Kendrick Jones made a play on it, but the ball hit the turf, and it will be 3rd down.
Again, it looks a little bit more panicked. Just not quite as calm and cool and collected as that huddle is and that offense is when it's either Dave Dickinson or Buck Pierce. You know, and it's like, you know, the team is a reflection of its head coach. The offense is a reflection of its quarterback. If his quarterback is uneasy, the offense often will follow suit.
Out on the heels of the 57-yarder the last time he got his hands on it. This time he won't get a chance to return it as Paul McCallum kicks it out of bounds.
7 yards from return last time. 1st and 10 Calgary.
Let's check our Purolator sack tally. 1 for the Lions, who lead the league, and for every sack in today's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going, and over 1 million pounds of food has been raised for Canadian food banks. Brent Johnson with 15 to lead all defensive players in the league this year.
But he doesn't have one tonight or this afternoon. And this is the Calgary Stampeders. 2 things. One, they get Jeff Pilon back. That has helped him out there. Jeff Pilon plays aggressively and has done a nice job. The other is Steve Barato's formation to go with tight ends has also helped to contain Brent Johnson, who has had 42 sacks in 50 games in the Canadian Football League, which is, you get to a sack a game, basically. I mean, that's as good as it gets, but off the board this afternoon.
Fumble recovery.
Illegal block, ends to the face. Calgary 82, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Nick Lewis, the culprit. So they march it back, and it will be 2nd and 20. Check that, 1st and 20.
swing.
at the Stampeder 11. And if the Lions are entertaining thoughts of a comeback, this is where they have to dig in defensively. Burris swinging it. And here is Wes Cates.
You know, it's an interesting decision by Wally Buono. I'm not second guessing it by any means, but he had a stop basically for no gain on first down. And decided to take the penalty. I know on a penalty like that much yardage is very tempting, but you go back to first down. That's great production by Henry Burris to dump it off to Joffrey Reynolds. He's got second and medium. He had second and long if he declined the penalty. So
I'm with them on the call. I say back him up.
I think you do anyway to put more pressure on him at that point in the field, but you get second and long is what you're trying to get defensively on every series.
That was a big play. They got 15, so it's 2nd and 5. And now Rambo unable to bring it in, and so they do force Calgary into a punting situation. Thought Rambo might have made that catch and really made it a bad decision for the Lions.
Well, you know, it works out for the Lions either way because they're Calgary's gonna have to kick anyway. But I know I'm not saying that it was the wrong decision by Wally Buono. I just thought I'd pose a question. I'm sort of like Sam Malone in this one in artificial turf and natural grass. I could go either way on it, but bottom line is, I thought I'd pose the question because second and long is the ultimate goal for defense.
Well, again, and those are the decisions that have to be made on a regular basis that can impact the game. Just like, do you kick on first down in overtime? Or?
Yeah, right.
There's Smart.
Number 2, Ian Smart on the return.
So good contact downfield, a 9-yard return. There's Jarius Jackson under pressure and down. He is dropped. Khalid Abdullah gets to the quarterback.
This play is designed to go to G-Roy Simon in a one-on-one on the backside, and because of a low shotgun snap and pressure from the Calgary Stampeders, there's Simon up at the top of your screen, the top right corner. He is one-on-one and gets in behind coverage, but Jackson, because of the pressure and that low snap, scrambles, and that's what pressure can do for you. Saved a big play by the Lions because Simon was in behind coverage.
5th quarterback sack for Abdullah on the season. 2nd and 14. And catch is made, and a terrific catch by G-Roy Simon in double coverage.
That's sick. It's just, it's fun to watch. You know, Simon he's gone beyond where he's a superstar player in the league. I mean, and he's the outstanding player in the league. This double coverage and how he comes down with his ball, I don't know. But he's got to that point, and not many athletes can, but where fans from the opposing team want to come and watch him play. You know, he sells tickets to come and just watch him play. Like guys like Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky, guys like that in other sports have done that. And that's where Simon has got to. I mean, he's going to have to do it to stay in that category over a lot of seasons. But boy, this year he just sells tickets because whether you're cheering for Calgary, Saskatchewan, Hamilton, or the Lions, it's a pleasure to watch him play the game.
It really has been. He's now within 13 yards of his own Lions record. And coming into today, he was projected to go over 2,000 yards. That may have to be brought down a little bit unless he has a big final 7.5 minutes. But he is among the elite all time for one season in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, 2,000 yards. I mean, you know, and he's going to have upwards of 100 catches as well. And not many, even the guys, the leaders, the 1,000-yard club over the last 10 years, not many have had 100 catches.
98 catches on the year for G-Roy Simon. Jarius Jackson, Kendrick Jones, wide open, touchdown.
Jarius Jackson, flags number 85.
Busted coverage. Jones has his 2nd major score of the year. And the BC Lions aren't going away.
Kendrick Jones takes advantage of G-Roy Simon's popularity, because G-Roy Simon's going to be here. Kendrick Jones is going to be the next layer in behind him. Jarius Jackson does a nice job of taking a quick peek to number 81 and freezing the entire Calgary Stampeders secondary. And Kendrick Jones says, go ahead and triple cover 81. I'll just be by myself in behind everybody.
Third touchdown thrown by Jarius Jackson on the season. He hooked up with Jones in Hamilton in his relief job for Buck Pierce. That game he was building on a lead. Today, he has the task of coming from a deficit, and they're now within 7 in the fourth quarter.
We're gonna be good. Come
42-yard catch.
He's saying all the way, baby.
By Kendrick Jones, so it's a 7-point game, 6:47 remaining.
Wes Lysak is a deep middle player here, and he's got someone, a corner on the outside playing deep as well. I believe it was Kobe Reinhardt. And both saw G-Roy Simon get at about that 15-yard intermediate route over the middle, and both froze. There's 3 in chase right there, about 10 yards behind. Simon had just this in route. He goes down about 15 yards, straight down the field and cuts across the middle. And Jarius Jackson has to just take that peek at Simon, and then he goes in behind everybody, and you can see both Reinhardt and Wes Lysak froze when G-Roy Simon cut in front of him and left Kendrick Jones wide open in behind him.
42 yards. That's his second 42-yard catch of the game. Makes it a 1-touchdown game. As Cates on the comeback to the 29. 6:40 to go. I'm not sure, but I think I could hear some cheers in Saskatchewan that last touchdown, because, yeah, they need a line win to keep their home field playoff hopes alive.
You know, he talked about, you know, a lot of these, the coaches and a lot of players and certainly the media talking about the fact that these two teams are going to meet in the West Final, and that's the most important game, and Calgary wants to win this so they can play well in the West. I don't know why everyone's kind of ruling out Saskatchewan to take a bit of a run. I mean, Tom Higgins even alluded to that the important game is the West Final, and they have a game to go before that. And still haven't won this one just yet.
Henry Burris. Cates. Wes Cates knocked out of bounds at the 44-yard line.
Henry Burris complete for West.
And it's a first down for the Stamps.
Taken out by Corey Banks, number 24.
But an important game for them to try and stay ahead of Saskatchewan for that race for the home playoff game, because the Riders still have a chance at it if Calgary can hold on for the win. And what they need to do now is keep the football. Time of possession on this drive is important.
That's a big drive for the Stamps. Big defensive series for the Lions. A first down at the Calgary 45. Joffrey Reynolds. Johnson couldn't reach him. And Reynolds into the secondary across midfield. Has 13 more.
And this is a great way to maintain that time of possession in this drive, is because you can get the ball to Joffrey Reynolds, who can pick up first down. You know, the ultimate is, what is the safest play I can run? In other words, avoiding turnovers and still churn up yardage and still keep possession of football, and that's Joffrey Reynolds. The answer to that question is Joffrey Reynolds.
We mentioned Reynolds, 10 carries, 30 yards last week. He has 90 on the day. And this time they fake it to him. Nick Lewis goes up and brings it down. Hit by Baron Miles, but it's another Stamp first down.
Well, they go to Joffrey Reynolds, picks up first down, and what's the next progression? You fake it to Joffrey Reynolds, and good timing on the throw. No hesitation from Henry Burris, and if he waits another split second, Nick Lewis runs right into Baron Miles, but the quick throw off the play action hits Nick Lewis in stride.
24 to Lewis, and a first down at the 28. Another play action, and Burris steps up, and he'll get hit as he crossed the 25. Otis Floyd there, 4 for Henry Burris.
Taken down by Otis Floyd, number 35.
Slow start for Henry Burris in the first quarter. He had to punt the football a few times and threw an interception in that quarter, but the numbers have improved in a big way since then.
Has not had a 300-yard game since Labor Day. On the verge here, and this may be the most important drive of the day.
Yeah, and let's not forget, he is really trying to exercise some demons here, because he got pulled in the BC game the first time as a pro 2 games ago that these two teams played. And then last week played maybe his worst outing of the season with 129 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 picks. So, you know, there was 1 pick by McManus at the end, but bottom line is that Henry Burris has not played very good football against this team. So to have a good second, third, and now half of the fourth quarter, 3/4 of the fourth quarter is big for Henry Burris in a lot of ways.
Timeout right now on the field. Tyrone Williams, who's had an outstanding season at nose tackle for the Lions, makes his way off the field. 4 minutes, 21 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and Calgary trying to reestablish control of this game. The lead cut to 7 on that last touchdown by the Lions, but that's been a good response for Burris and company. 4 plays, 57 yards. And now looking at 2nd and 6. Blitz coming. Burris, hot pattern. Great pass. Nick Lewis to the 2.
That's what Henry Burris is capable of. He sees the blitz coming right down Main Street. What a pickup, and he's going to do this little jump throw to get through the pressure. Look at the pressure coming right here. They're coming full blitz from the BC Lions as they try and fill up those A gaps. They get pressure from the outside, and Aaron Hunt picked up well. Both Nick Lewis recognizes it, as does his quarterback. There's Lewis, the inside receiver. He sees blitz coming inside. Get open quickly. What a throw from Henry Burris.
5th 300-yard game of the season for Burris. 1st and goal. Joffrey Reynolds nowhere.
Tried that formation, sort of. I'm going to call it student body right, because they have so many guys to the right side of the formation for the Stampeders. And they line up all 3 receivers in behind the tight end set. They've had success running with Reynolds, but not that time. BC Lions have seen it a few times in this game this afternoon and stuff it.
So it'll be 2nd and goal from the 3. And with 3 minutes remaining, the 3-minute warning given to the benches. We'll be right back to McMahon. 2nd and goal from the 3. And Burris on a roll. Henry Burris, touchdown. He's tossed 2 touchdown passes, and he may have just capped a huge Calgary day with that touchdown run.
It was a pride game for the Calgary Stampeders. They had it handed to them a week ago in BC Place. All kinds of questions swirling around this football team. Was their defense good enough? Was their quarterback good enough? Well, Burris has answered one question for sure.
Angeles makes it a 14-point lead. 2:46 to go. Henry Burris may have just clinched it for Calgary.
Now, I guess you get a 300-yard passing game for quarterbacks, kind of like having a hat trick in hockey. You're having a big game. And then for Henry Burris to cap what's been a great game for him with the run for a touchdown. He's answering a few critics.
And Smart with the return. And Smart up to the 49-yard line. John Grace with the tackle. Let's have another look at the Burris touchdown run.
Look at this, student body again over here. You got 6 to one side, and then you're going to get Burris say, you know what, when they overload, I'm going to go the opposite direction. That's exactly what happens. Student body left, naked bootleg going right. Well, not quite naked. You got the fullback Leslie out there, but works either way for Henry Burris, and a great drive to eat up a tons of time after the Lions scored at Kendrick Jones. They eat up all kinds of time coming back the opposite way. Cap off a pretty good afternoon for Henry Burris. 300-plus passing.
Did you say naked bootleg?
I did.
We just had a streaker go right across the field, right out of the stadium. Well, we've had almost everything now. Jarius Jackson, and he's hit this. The arm came forward again. That's the second time we've seen that in the game. As we join Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, guys. Buck Pierce says he's fine physically. The ice pack is actually off the elbow, but the jacket remains on. He will not be returning to this game for precautionary reasons.
You know, and I like that decision, even though I know that Wally Buono wants to keep that edge and not give the wrong message to his team. But, you know, you got to be careful with Dave Dickinson's situation still up in the air. Cautious is a good approach.
2nd and 10, more pressure. Jackson hit, and the ball falls incomplete. The 2 and out. As the Stamps are bringing it now on the backup quarterback in this game, Jarius Jackson.
Yeah, and Jarius Jackson, really with the time left in the clock, doesn't have the luxury of having Joe Smith part of the offense anymore, really. He's got to drop back and pass on almost every down and try and come back from 2 scores, and that means the defensive line can pin their ear back.
So McCallum to kick it away. And the Lions dream of a 14-win season, the first in BC Lion history, is evaporating here.
Lions are having some blocking assignment issues right now.
Kick to Hal, who really kick-started things with his return of 57 yards earlier in the half. Well, we talked to Tom Higgins yesterday about the significance, how badly they needed to perform well against the BC Lions today.
This game's important in the fact that we need to show that we can line up and play with the BC Lions, not necessarily win right now, because it only takes 60 minutes to win come playoff time. This is going to be an opportunity for us to feel good about ourselves, that we can line up and we can scrap with the big boys.
Yeah, very interesting comment in a couple of ways.
Well, he got the good performance, and a bonus, he got the win. And now Joffrey Reynolds,
yeah,
the 31-yard line.
2 things in that comment that I thought was interesting. One is he wants to play with the big boys, and that's what we're talking about. There's a pride game for them. They've had trouble. They've lost 5 straight to the Lions, 8 of the last 9, and this was becoming a mental block for the Calgary Stampeders. That's one thing, and Tom Higgins addressed that. The other, though, did you notice again that he sort of the playoffs, and that's the most important 60 minutes? Is everyone forgetting about Saskatchewan in this scenario?
He's going to have to win 2 60-minute games.
Yeah.
To get to the Grey Cup. Certainly have to win 1 to get to BC. Burris putting it up top, looking for Copeland, who got all tangled up now with Corey Banks.
Now, was that a little bit, you know, like last week when Wally Buono decided to onside kick down the run there? Was going deep from Henry Burris, the Calgary Stampeder answer sort of saying, yeah, well, we might just try and throw it up on top of you up by 14 with time running out.
As Wally said yesterday, you know, there are no Geneva Convention rules here about how you handle the lead. He ran it up last week. I don't always see a team go deep with a 14-point lead this late, but it's nothing against it in the rule book. Minute 46 to play here at McMahon. Lions need a quick score as they go back to work. There's a pass complete to Thelwell. First down as he's bumped out of bounds by Pascal Masson. I brought it up earlier, 89, the big upset against Edmonton when they were 16-2, but you had beat Edmonton going into that Western final, so there was that belief. Did you think Calgary had to beat BC to have that belief if they get a chance at them again?
I do, and I think it's important. We had beat the Edmonton Eskimos in the preseason and the regular season, one of the two games they lost. And that was important to us as a football team, and I think it is, to know you can win when you have to.
Jackson scrambling.
And that you've beaten that team, as dominant as they may have been. And BC Lions have been a dominant team. It's a very similar scenario. You know, the Calgary Stampeders kind of had up and down times this season, but could go into a playoff game if these two teams meet in the final and say to themselves, okay, we snapped all that ugly stuff with a 5 in a row and that we can't beat this team. We've shown we can beat the team. Now go do it again.
With all that said about Saskatchewan, Calgary, BC, kind of strange not to have Edmonton in the equation.
You know, across this country, I haven't heard much sympathy about it. I don't know.
Well, a remarkable streak. We may not see it again. 34 consecutive years.
Yeah, I don't know how that type of number in a playoff streak in any league with free agency and player movement and how things go could be ever matched. But, you know, congratulations to the Eskimos for 34 straight years, and it was going to come to an end at some point.
A couple of losses back-to-back against Hamilton. You can talk about Milt Stegall.
Yeah, I don't think they recovered from that. I really don't.
Yep, the botched field goal at BC a couple of weeks after that. And they'll be talking about all of that all off-season. Jackson just got it away. Pascal Masson nearly had the pick on the 3rd and 6 gamble. And it's a turnover on downs here, and with 1:20 to go, the Stamps are that close to posting win number 10.
Dear Dr. Z, I know Daimler Chrysler invented the minivan, but how is the quality? Kim, check out our unique stow and go on the Dodge Grand Caravan and this Chrysler Town Country. And both minivans are 5-star crash test rated.
But
hey, look what I found. JD Power Award for the highest ranked van in initial quality.
See the best in German and North American engineering and design at your Chrysler Jeep Dodge retailer.
Ryder Sports Center with Dan O'Toole, Brian Mudrick tonight, 11:30 Eastern. They'll wrap up a very busy day of sports action, including our triple header of Canadian and National Football League action. Final home game here of the regular season. The Stamps, the best home team in the CFL this year. This will be their 8th win in 9 tries. Last year they were a good road team, and they have been mysteriously poor on the road this year. Still a couple of road games to go, including one in Calgary, or in Winnipeg next week, and that will be the rushing title showdown in some ways between Messrs. Reynolds and Roberts. And speaking of, Geoffrey Reynolds not getting a chance to add to his lead with that carry.
Yeah, we might have to chip 1 or 2 off that 1465 just before we make it official. But Charles Roberts, just before this game, took the lead. Geoffrey Reynolds took it back. And you're right, that last game will be for that title. And Geoffrey Reynolds likely still get maybe a few votes for outstanding player, and deserves some, I guess. But runaway winner there, it's got to be G. Simon. But not a big surprise the Calgary Stampeders turn things around, and they have been dominant at home. Their only loss at home, as you mentioned, that 8-1 record now, to the BC Lions.
The Week 5 loss. Reynolds, by the way, at 87 yards in the game.
You know, and this is a better team than they've shown at times. I mean, a way better team. They've looked flat out ugly at times, like last week.
Well, and that was the thing against BC. It wasn't that they just lost 2 previous meetings this year. They were blown out of both of them. 40-23 here, 39-13, and Burris doesn't want to make a mistake and throws that one into the crowd.
But talking about mistakes, if I'm Tom Higgins and I do get a chance to face the Lions in the playoffs, I may just take Nick Lewis and Jermaine Copeland and lock them in a room until after the game with no microphones, no cameras, and say, hey, you guys are good players. Let's just leave it at that.
That's a soundproof room.
Yeah, a soundproof room, and throw away the key until after the game.
Well, they walked the walk this week without doing any of the talk.
Yeah.
Minute 10 left. And again on Bales, a block.
Wait a minute now.
And hold on, Ryan Thowell, touchdown. Well, the decision desk is back on hold here. 63 seconds left.
Wait a minute now.
And it's a one touchdown game and a bit of a scrap as Ryan Thowell takes in the block punt for a touchdown.
Well, you see the Lions kind of load up this section, and I'm sure the block comes from there as they come off that corner, loaded up, and who was it that got his hands on the football?
I believe that's Kendrick Jones.
Yeah, and Thowell scoops it up, so now an extra point, an onside kick, and hang on.
That's the 6th block kick in the CFL this year, the first by these BC Lions. You know, since we'll never learn, it's the CFL. And it takes 60 minutes and sometimes more. And who knows, we might have more.
It'll be a big kick. This is a big kick for Paul McCallum.
And it doesn't have to go 50.
No, it doesn't. It only has to go 10. Well, maybe 11. And he needs to chip it. He's going to line it up to try and do it from right hash to the left sideline. The Calgary Stampeders will put on what's called their hands team. And they're going to try and load up. It looks like they're coming from the bunch formation right here, and they're just going to scatter and see how Calgary reacts. Paul McCallum needs a perfect kick at about 11 yards, either on the air or squib it hard down on the ground.
And Randy Chevrier decided maybe the Stamps weren't set properly.
No, they weren't. They weren't ready.
He didn't like the setup. Now he and
Craig
special
Dickinson.
teams coach Craig Dickinson are going to account for everybody.
No, you don't want to have the wrong personnel 1 or the wrong formation 2 on the field on your hands team in a crucial point in the football game.
Either that or Randy Chevrier wanted to make sure we mentioned that his wife delivered a baby this week. Luke Chevrier. I've never seen that before, the opposing team kicking the ball. Mike Benavides is the special teams coach for the Lions. Remember, BC executed a successful short kick last week.
Offside. Calgary 76. This is a 5-yard penalty.
And as far as tough calls go for officials, that offside call wasn't a tough one.
Was there a chance that Randy just decided, hey, I'm not supposed to be here?
Yes. What as offside as you can be when you're receiving the kick and you kick it. But this is a good formation by Mike Benavides because right now the Calgary Stampeders do not know what direction Paul McCallum is going to onside kick because of the bunch formation. So now they'll just scatter and see which direction they go. But if the Lions can somehow get it, this game isn't over.
Here we go. It worked last week when they really didn't need it. Almost perfect. In play! And a huge hit. Kendrick Jones, but Nick Lewis hung on. And it's Calgary Stampeder football, and the sure hands of Lewis pay big dividends on that play.
Well, all you have to do is be the last player to touch it as it goes out of bounds to get possession. And there was a collision on the sideline. And possession can be challenged by Wally Buono. Lewis leaves the field to play. Both feet inside the field to play, touched it.
Kendrick Jones went up in the air, but clearly off Lewis last, although the Lions bench tried to sell it the other way.
Well, even if it touches Jones a little bit on the way out, it's not possession. Jones has to be the last guy to deliberately touch it before it goes out.
So 63 seconds on the clock, and Reynolds straight ahead.
And off to Joffrey Reynolds.
You know, that's not an easy play. That's Nick Lewis comes up with a big one there, because, you know, momentum, if the Lions get that perfect kick by McCallum with the hang time to be about 14 yards deep and put it right on the sideline, that you can't kick it any better. Kendrick Jones has got great leaps. He can get up there. He can climb the ladder, and was. But that's pretty strong play by Nick Lewis on the sideline.
Clock running, 50 seconds to go. The Lions do have their timeout.
You know, and did that penalty by Chevrier get Nick Lewis in that position?
2nd and 6. Burris scrambling and down. Back at the 48-yard line, dropped by Carl Kidd.
You know, the play of the game to get, you know, the right formation, because I'm not sure that Nick Lewis was lined up over there before this happened, when the Lions in the first attempt went to do it, and Randy Chevrier comes up and toe punches it.
You know, he's a valuable special teams guy. He's their long snapper. He's often the first guy downfield, and clearly he saw something he didn't like, and had to make an adjustment.
He was lined up over there, and what I'm thinking is Randy Chevrier was looking at, wait a minute, right now I look like I'm the receiver, and that's not a good matchup.
Lions stopped the clock with 34 seconds to go. No, they didn't. The clock is now brought in, and it is running.
Well, and Tom Higgins could almost even take the penalty here.
Running it right down.
He'll take it. He will take the penalty and take all that time, the full 20 seconds.
So 14 seconds remaining.
Well, that home record, important this year, considering that playoff game in the semifinal for the Calgary Stampeders.
Calgary 48, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Will be here. And that's another thing that Calgary builds on. You know, we're 8-1 at home. We've played great at home. We got a home playoff game.
You're declaring it over. They almost get to Dales again. And this ball will go out of bounds at the 43-yard line. 7 seconds left.
Well, this is what they do now, the BC Lions. And boy, the Lions were close on that kick, weren't they? You know, and the thing for Calgary is that they couldn't just down the ball there, or else they would have given the Lions the ball there with a few seconds on the clock. So they had to punt it. And that was closer than I'm sure Tom Higgins would have liked.
And it's Baron Miles, who's second in CFL history of block kicks with 8. Only Gerald Vaughn with more block kicks. Miles came close. And now Jarius Jackson with 7 seconds to go to air things out. A quick hit. And
now
Joe
he'll air
Cologne with the catch. 3 seconds remaining.
Well, that throw, basically, Jarius Jackson probably throws it 50, 60 yards pretty easily. That little 10-yard, 12-yard throw there gives him a chance to get it down around the goal line. If he can buy some time, scramble around, and just heave it and see if he can get the jump ball.
I'm guessing that even if Dave Dickinson and Buck Pierce were available in this situation, Jarius Jackson would be the man. And we'll see how strong his arm is as he loads and fires, going deep and too strong over everybody. And that will do it. The Calgary Stampeders win at 32-25, respond to last week's embarrassment, and will host the Western semifinal against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Huge pride game for the Calgary Stampeders, and maybe answered a lot of the critics' questions, and especially that man, Henry Burris, his first 300-yard passing game in a long time.
10th win for the Calgary Stampeders, and Wally Bono's team now 11-5.